My entire existence was dedicated to the sacred art of the perfect starting role. Conquering the stat-obsessed Academy of Luck became my singular, all-consuming focus. Countless news reports blared warnings about the game's dangers, which I promptly ignored. With a casual flick of my wrist, I initiated one last emergency reset. Surely, after 10,000 attempts, the universe owed me a flawless run. A friend's exasperated voice once echoed in my ears, questioning my very sanity. She always insisted this digital obsession would somehow be my ultimate undoing. Laughing it off, I passionately defended my unyielding need for maximum DPS builds. Her challenge was simple. Would I even become a little girl for god-tier stats? My flippant yes apparently sealed a cosmic contract I never knew I signed. This time, the familiar jolt of a system reset felt terrifyingly, irreversibly permanent. Then, impossibly, a pair of tiny eyelids fluttered open to a world of blinding light. Consciousness returned to me in an opulent, unfamiliar bed, feeling alarmingly small. Golden sunlight streamed through a grand window, confirming I wasn't in the afterlife. Glancing down, I saw impossibly small, chubby hands where my own should be. A shimmering blue tutorial window materialized before my eyes, welcoming me to the academy. An arrow helpfully directed my attention toward a gift from my new father. The system's logic crashed down on me. I hadn't just reset the game, I'd entered it. Worse yet, my character build was locked to the one class I'd jokingly agreed to. My tiny fingers trembled as I reached for the heart-shaped box on the nightstand. Attached was a small, elegant card addressed to someone named Oknodi. That name pinged a distant, nagging memory in the back of my mind. Suddenly, a horrifyingly cringy memory resurfaced with crystal clarity. My personal gaming mantra, "Okay, I won't die," had just become my legal name. Now I was permanently logged into the luck-based hellscape I knew so intimately. Perhaps, I mused, a world ruled by RNG was better than one ruled by brute force. Victory here demanded not just strength or smarts, but the favor of the dice gods. I recalled how the only way to truly control fate was to spam the reroll button. Frantically, my mind screamed for a status window, a menu, anything to escape. Absolutely nothing happened. This cruel new reality had no escape key. For a fleeting moment, I mourned my glorious muscle-bound berserker builds. My own boastful words about stats had come back to bite me in the tiniest way possible. Surely this all had to be some kind of elaborate, cosmically unfunny prank. Then my eyes landed on the small pouch on the floor, the starting allowance. This was undeniably the game's opening cutscene, and I was its unwilling star player. The first major RNG check was coming up, my father's randomly assigned profession. His job would determine my entire playthrough, leading to a golden path or a guaranteed bad end. Failing out of this academy wasn't just game over, it was a literal death sentence. Survival in this nightmare depended entirely on nailing this first crucial luck check. Clutching the pouch, I sent a desperate prayer to the RNG gods for anything but the dreaded orphan route. Its surprising weight nearly toppled my tiny frame. Peeking inside revealed a staggering cascade of glittering gold. A system window blazed to life, confirming my noble lineage. My destiny was now set on the coveted golden route to victory. Feeling invincible, my attention snapped back to the heart-shaped box. Within its velvet lining rested a breathtakingly ornate artifact. Something else lay tucked beneath the delicate accessory. Unbelievably, the game had given me 2 starting items instead of 1. The first was a crisp, formal letter detailing the Academy's entrance exam. Its message was brutally short and devoid of any warmth. There was absolutely no hint of fatherly affection in the cold, precise script. Frankly, a pouch full of gold was a much better welcome gift than empty sentiment. This absent benefactor might just be the perfect support character for my playthrough. My focus could remain on stats and loot without tedious family bonding quests. Such a perfectly distant relationship was a min-maxer's dream come true. Now for the real prize, the mysterious second item. My jaw practically unhinged at the sight of an ultra-rare S-rank network item. This legendary artifact could summon a personal NPC butler to manage my inventory. Suddenly, a magnificent gilded door materialized from thin air in the center of the room. Out from the impossible doorway stepped a man in a perfectly tailored suit. His voice, a low and cultured baritone, respectfully asked if I had called. He presented a small silver whistle as the key to summoning his services. A triumphant smirk spread across my face. This world was already bending to my will. Putting the whistle to my lips, I gave a test blow and he instantly reappeared. I demanded his name, noting his impeccable appearance hid something unsettling. He introduced himself as Jonah Waihemi, though his aura screamed less butler and more mafia enforcer. A closer look at his embroidered name tag sent a jolt of pure dread through me. That name was a terrible on-the-nose pun translating to Jonah is super dangerous. This game's cruel humor had just reached an entirely new level of personal attack. My mind reeled as I masked my internal screaming with a desperate request for a mirror. Trying to appear calm, I reminded myself that my own name was a literal good luck charm. Still, trusting a man literally named Super Dangerous felt like a critical gameplay error. His hand then moved slowly, deliberately toward the inside of his tailored coat. A blinding flash of polished silver erupted from the darkness of his jacket. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for a game over I wouldn't be walking away from. He was only holding a beautifully crafted, ornate hand mirror. My cheeks burned with embarrassment as I awkwardly accepted the offered item. Tentatively, my trembling fingers brought the reflective surface up to my face. His piercing golden eyes watched my every move with unnerving intensity. Reflected back at me was the face of a small, impossibly pretty girl with wide, sapphire blue eyes. My lips formed a question about my apparent youth, a detail too bizarre to ignore. Jonah swiftly interrupted, announcing my master's decree that I enter the academy. Utterly baffled, I questioned if Papa was this supposed master, a title he didn't seem to recognize. He clarified instead that my benefactor had arranged intensive training for the entrance examination. These new training grounds, he added, were a vast improvement over this neglected, dusty chamber. Only then did my gaze sweep across the room, registering the stark reality of my lodgings. A flicker of something dangerously close to pity softened the butler's stoic features. Quickly I waved a dismissive hand, attempting to project an air of unbothered confidence. His resolve only hardened, however, as he pledged unwavering service to his pitiful new charge. Following him towards a colossal training hall, I recalled this game's tutorial was anything but simple. Behind him, my mind raced to process the bizarre turn of events. Vivid memories surfaced of the game's notoriously brutal entrance exam, a graveyard for aspiring players. An astronomical 90% of newcomers, myself included, had wiped on their very first mission. Even the bitter sting of a full party betrayal felt fresh in my memory. This opulent training facility, by comparison, felt like an absolute cakewalk. Some casual mention of the grounds being prepared every year was followed by his sudden, nervous twitch. Before I could question his slip, a wave of panic hit me as I realized the ornate mirror was gone. Immediately, he gestured towards an adjacent room, assuring me a new one was already prepared. That face wore the exact expression of a professional cleaner trying to hide a very big mistake. Stepping inside, my eyes landed on a magnificent full-length mirror dominating the wall. My own tiny reflection stared back as I attempted to flex a bicep that simply wasn't there. There was nothing but a scrawny child with limbs like twigs and zero muscle definition. So small was my face that it could be completely obscured by one of my doll-like hands. Pure disappointment escaped me in a sigh as I turned back towards the stoic butler. His deadpan question about my familiarity with mirrors caught me completely off guard. Any attempt to play it cool failed spectacularly under his gaze, which registered my genuine shock. Changing the subject, he suggested we eat first, a proposal that short-circuited my internal panic. All thoughts of my pathetic stats vanished at the glorious, beautiful mention of food. Without another word, I practically skipped towards the dining hall, leaving him watching in my wake. Perhaps he assumed I was just a hungry child, completely unaware of my true objective. This very world operated on game logic, and its collection system offered permanent stat boosts. Discovering new recipes, I knew, was one of the fastest and easiest ways to power level early on. The butler's promise to bring the meal shortly had me vibrating with anticipation for my first easy stat points. While waiting, a crucial thought struck me. Every single second before the exam was grinding time. The vast, empty dining hall suddenly presented the perfect, unconventional training opportunity. Countering this world's brutal RNG meant grinding every possible skill, starting immediately. 1 full minute spent crouching beneath the dining table earned me a precious first point in the stealth skill. Such basic skills were the absolute key to surviving the ridiculously overpowered elite bosses later. Jonah's return coincided with my discovery of a much better hiding spot inside an empty supply barrel. Down he stared, his perfectly composed face a mask of utter bewilderment. Those intense golden eyes bored straight through my flimsy cover. Emerging with a flourish, I proclaimed my barrel hiding perfectly normal. My own traitorous stomach then roared, shattering any illusion of dignity. Jonah, ever unflappable, merely gestured towards a table groaning under the weight of an imperial feast. All thoughts of stealth evaporated, replaced by the dazzling promise of EXP points disguised as food. Without a moment's hesitation, I launched myself at the table in a whirlwind of tiny, grabbing hands. His perfectly neutral facade finally cracked, revealing a flicker of pure astonishment. Flavor was a luxury I couldn't afford when a stat-grinding opportunity this good presented itself. Just as predicted, a shimmering blue window appeared, confirming the collection bonus for every 10 unique dishes. This min-maxing strategy required volume, not delicacy, making speed my greatest ally. My mission to complete the cooking collection had officially begun, leaving my butler utterly perplexed. Fueled by a dozen stat-boosting pastries, I declared my immediate intention to begin strength training. Wiping crumbs from my face, the reality of this pay-to-win lifestyle hit me with full force. An eager demand to be led to the training grounds immediately followed my epiphany. Moments later, I stood before a sprawling outdoor track, somehow already clad in perfectly fitted athletic wear. Jonah's simple instruction was to run until my body gave out, a test of pure endurance. My tiny frame struck a comically heroic pose against the vastness of the field. A confident smirk played on my lips as I mentally prepared to push this new body to its absolute limit. Suddenly, a sharp electric jolt shot through my skull, forcing a pained grimace. His immediate rush of concern was met with my quick dismissal of it as a mere headache. Of course, the telltale shimmer of a system window materialized, announcing the first training event. Its text confirmed my suspicions. This was a premium tutorial, a massive shortcut unavailable to free-to-play newbies. Understanding the transaction, I instinctively produced a small pouch heavy with gold. Flashes of my past life grinding for hours just to afford this single event filled my mind. I solemnly offered Jonah a single gold coin, formally declaring it the required training fee. He gently pushed my hand away, his expression unreadable as he clarified his role as butler, not a paid NPC. My mind did a triumphant little jig at the unexpected savings. All humor vanished as I settled into a professional runner's crouch, my focus sharpening. With a single explosive push, I shot down the track like a tiny, determined cannonball. Jonah watched my retreating form, a flicker of pity in his eyes for a child who saw a price tag on everything. This tiny vessel, I discovered, possessed a surprising wellspring of untapped physical power. 30 laps later, a glorious notification announced a month-long training efficiency buff as my reward. A towel was suddenly draped over my head as Jonah's calm voice instructed me to stop for the day. His praise for my stamina was met with my very practical explanation on its necessity for outrunning danger. He seemed to understand, listing off the classic monster-slaying and thief-chasing scenarios of this world. A world-weary sigh escaped him before he announced the next item on the agenda, weapons practice. We stood before a magnificent rack of gleaming steel, where he simply told me to choose my preferred instrument. My hand unhesitatingly closed around the hilt of a short sword, perfectly weighted for my size. One weapon was never enough for a true gamer, so I also slung a finely crafted bow over my shoulder. I proudly presented him my holy trinity of grinding, a sword for close combat, a bow for range, and a sparkling magic wand. He began to correct me about the club, but I was already admiring its flawless craftsmanship. Jonah's eyes widened as he questioned my familiarity with magical artifacts. My mind flashed back to 1,000 virtual raids, this very wand a treasured drop. I simply beamed, soaking in his apparent astonishment at my prodigious talent. His pleasant demeanor shattered, his hand clamping down on my shoulder with sudden intensity. A sharp question about my past was met with my flustered denial of any street urchin history. His grip tightened, his gaze piercing as he demanded to know where I learned such skills. Suddenly, a memory surfaced, explaining his grave misunderstanding about my experience. My past life's grind for in-game currency through shady virtual jobs was the real culprit. He warned me of the perils of unsanctioned magic, his voice a low growl. Desperately, I fabricated a backstory about attending the prestigious Royal Academy, a classic RPG trope. His hold finally loosened, a flicker of belief crossing his stern features. An unsettling glint appeared in his eyes as he announced an urgent errand. He instructed me to continue training before disappearing into thin air. Standing alone in the vast training ground, I was left utterly dumbfounded by the turn of events. My first thought was a silent prayer for whichever unlucky NPC he was about to interrogate. A bitter memory of being scammed by a back-alley mage made me reconsider my sympathy. Far away, Jonah sat illuminated by a single candle, penning a detailed report. The document's header, Progress Report, was followed by a meticulous account of my day. His signature revealed Jonah Wehyomhai was merely an alias for a man with a forgotten name. A brief shadow of a more violent past crossed his face before he refocused on the task. He noted with professional admiration that his master had indeed discovered a rare gem. My physical prowess and innate combat sense were, he wrote, far beyond any reasonable expectation. He continued writing, his quill scratching rhythmically against the fine parchment. However, the report took a turn when describing my utterly bizarre personal habits. An entry detailed the incident of finding me hiding inside the estate's grandfather clock. Another described my attempt to scale the dining hall's crystal chandelier like a mountain. He paused to recall my nonsensical explanation for taking shelter within an empty wine barrel. The sheer ferocity with which I consumed my stat-boosting meals was also duly noted. A sigh of pure exasperation escaped him as he relived the chaotic memories. His final notation concerned my apparent amnesia regarding the very contract that brought me here. A deep line of concern creased his brow as he sealed the letter with wax. Abruptly, his hand shot out, grasping the hilt of a sheathed sword resting against his desk. He rose to his feet, a grim premonition settling over him like a shroud. A single bead of sweat traced a path down his temple. His instincts were screaming. Meanwhile, I was creeping through a darkened corridor, a mischievous glint in my eye. His distant, panicked call of my name went completely unheard. I vaulted over a garden wall, landing silently on the cobblestone streets of the moonlit town. From a rooftop high above, Jonah watched my tiny figure with utter bewilderment. My voice was a low whisper as I scanned a grimy alley, searching for a hidden quest objective. A faint luminescence on the ground beckoned, and I triumphantly snatched my prize. He merely saw a child fascinated by a particularly shiny pebble. Then, to his absolute horror, I popped the glowing object directly into my mouth. Every muscle in the stoic butler's body went rigid with profound shock. This unprecedented event absolutely had to be documented in his next report. His latest conclusion was that the young lady possessed a truly alarming set of eccentricities. In a flash, he was kneeling before me, his hands gently framing my face in panic. An urgent plea to expel the foreign object immediately escaped his lips. Meanwhile, a translucent window only I could see confirmed a successful stat boost. These rare items were fleeting opportunities, disappearing if not consumed instantly. His frantic questions about my rock-eating habits were met with a sly, secretive smile. It dawned on me that I probably looked like a feral child with a strange nocturnal diet. A brilliant, if utterly ridiculous excuse began to formulate in my mind. With wide, teary eyes, I confessed it was a desperate measure for my very survival. My dramatic declaration left him utterly speechless and frozen in place. His mind jumped to a heartbreakingly wrong conclusion. I was secretly starving. He earnestly vowed to double my portions, a promise that made me cheer internally. A desperate request followed, begging me to never resort to eating stones again. Of course, I solemnly agreed while already planning my next midnight mineral snack. Our bizarre misunderstanding temporarily settled, we began the walk back to the estate. My abysmal stealth stat clearly needed some serious grinding to avoid future encounters. Jonah watched my retreating back, convinced my oddities were a cry for specialized help. For my own social well-being, he resolved to hire a tutor in the arts of subtlety. Sunlight streamed into the dining hall the next morning, but something felt terribly off. A profound lethargy had settled deep into my bones, making my limbs tremble with weakness. Lifting my fork towards a plate of pasta felt like an impossibly strenuous task. My hand suddenly spasmed, driving the utensil straight through the porcelain plate. I could only stare at the shattered dish, my mind a complete and utter blank. Jonah was instantly by my side, his voice laced with genuine concern for my well-being. Perhaps my strength stat had skyrocketed, turning me into a tiny, muscle-bound warrior. A nearby reflection, however, only showed the same fragile, waifish girl. He interpreted my lack of control as a sign of extreme, debilitating frailty. My gamer instinct screamed that this body had a death-by-laziness debuff. Seeing my pathetic struggle, he decided immediate intervention was absolutely necessary. My jaw dropped when he gently took the new fork from my trembling hand. He carefully twirled a perfect bite of pasta, lifting it towards my mouth. His quiet encouragement to open my mouth was both mortifying and surprisingly sweet. I decided to lean into the delicate maiden role and graciously accept his help. Just as he offered another bite, a shadow fell over our little scene. An unfamiliar woman in pristine formal attire addressed me by a name I did not recognize. This new maid announced her name was of all things Leaf Life. My brain simply short-circuited as Jonah asked if I was feeling all right. Seriously, was I the only one in this world without a ridiculously themed name? Waving it off as nothing, I let him continue the very important task of feeding me. Her gaze, however, remained fixed on us, cold and unnervingly sharp. Within the training hall later, her silent appearance nearly made me jump out of my skin. Both she and Jonah stood together, their combined scrutiny feeling like a high-level boss encounter. He questioned if she'd revealed her purpose, but she merely claimed to be my new secret bodyguard. A flicker of surprise crossed her face, realizing my intuition had already pierced her disguise. Her true name, she confessed, was Reaped Life, a title bestowed by their mysterious master. A brief memory flashed through her eyes of a small orphaned girl being offered a hand in the darkness. To be reaped was to be saved, but it also meant she was the one who culled his enemies. She seemed genuinely stunned that a child could perceive the lethal aura she kept so carefully hidden. One lucky guess, she informed Jonah, would not be enough to complete her evaluation of me. He simply deferred to her judgment, granting her full authority over the final decision. Polishing his monocle, Jonah offered a knowing smirk that she completely missed. She then dared to question why a man of his infamous skills was relegated to butler duty. Her voice dropped low as she mentioned a disastrous incident involving the last young lady. Faster than I could track, his gloved hand shot out and silenced her by seizing her jaw. His voice turned to ice as he warned her to remember her designated role. With a glare that promised retribution, he commanded her to focus her attention on me alone. The dangerous woman immediately recoiled, stammering a swift and terrified apology. Oblivious to the deadly undercurrent, I piped up to ask when my training was scheduled to begin. Jonah instructed her pointedly not to interfere with my established practice regimen. Turning on his heel, he left me alone in the vast hall with my would-be assassin. Her thoughts were clear on her face. The butler was coddling his charge far too much. She knew better than anyone that their organization had little patience for failure. That evening, the new maid slipped into my chambers, expecting to find me sleeping. A glowing system window declared "Stealth Mission Failed" above my hiding spot in a laundry basket. This new NPC was definitely an annoyance, but perhaps she could be a useful grinding tool. Outsmarting this elite assassin was clearly the fastest way to level up my abysmal stealth stat. Lately, however, surviving the butler's experimental cooking had become the real daily quest. My complaint about the food's bizarre metallic taste earned an immediate, flustered apology from Jonah. He reached for the plate, a look of genuine confusion on his face as if he couldn't recall the recipe. Yet I stopped his hand, insisting I should eat the meal he had worked so hard to prepare. My simple gesture of consideration seemed to stun him into absolute silence. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out why he was suddenly looking at me with such a complex expression. Then a series of pop-up windows joyfully announced my poison-resistant skill had just leveled up. Across the room, Jonah and the maid exchanged a quiet, conspiratorial glance. Reaped Life then approached with a small smile, offering a sweet candy to cleanse my palate. Happily, I accept the candy, immediately receiving an offer for a second one. A promise of freshly baked cookies for the afternoon only sweetens the deal. My gamer instincts tingled at the thought of all these delicious new items. She had no idea her generosity was simply helping me complete my collection achievements. Elsewhere, her report to Jonah labeled my talent as nothing short of monstrous. She confessed her shock at my rapid adaptation to her subtle poison regimen. Apparently, my willingness to consume the tainted meal proved I was no ordinary child. Jonah's mind immediately jumped to a grim conclusion about my former life on the streets. His face hardened with the suspicion that a rival faction was making a move in the city. No one, he vowed internally, would dare to target the family's new young lady. He tasked the maid with a dual mission: protect me and investigate the city's underbelly. His final command was a single, chilling whisper to eliminate any and all threats. Beneath the cloak of twilight, their deadly operation was set into motion. Unaware of the drama, I was gearing up for a secret nighttime quest of my own. For once, the mansion's suffocating surveillance seemed to be completely offline. This golden opportunity for some solo grinding was simply too good to pass up. These NPCs had clearly underestimated the ambition of a top-tier player. I slipped into the darkened city streets, searching for a high-yield random encounter. Yet the scene I stumbled upon in a narrow alleyway froze me in my tracks. Devastation painted the entire area, the clear aftermath of a one-sided conflict. Picking my way through the wreckage, I was stunned by the sheer scale of the chaos. Then my gaze fell upon an unbelievable jackpot, a crate overflowing with gold bars. Pocketing the epic loot, I realized this was not a simple robbery. A sudden dread washed over me. This was not a scripted event I recognized. My gut screamed that this was a high-level zone, forcing a tactical retreat. Returning to the estate, I found it bathed in an unnervingly silent moonlight. Relief washed over me as I finally crept back to the safety of my own room. Swinging the door open, however, revealed a terrifyingly calm figure waiting inside. Leaf, the new maid, greeted me with an unnervingly serene smile. A quiet question about my late-night excursion caught me completely off guard. She drew closer, her placid expression revealing absolutely nothing. Her whispered observation about the scent of blood sent a paralyzing chill down my spine. My stammered excuses only seemed to deepen the unsettling curve of her lips. She led me towards my bed with a gentle touch that hid an unbreakable strength. Sleep refused to come as a profound sense of unease kept me wide awake. Without a sound, Leaf appeared beside my bed, a single candle casting dancing shadows. Calmly, she insisted it was only a bad dream, her voice a soothing balm. A soft hand covered my eyes as she promised to watch over me until morning. An unnatural weariness began to claim me, the candle's smoke strangely sweet. Drifting into darkness, my last thought was to question if any of it had been real. A shrewd glint illuminated Leaf's eyes as she watched me sleep.
She finally understood Jonah's assessment of my surprising potential.
This little girl was not just a rogue, but a natural-born shadow. A devious smile crept across her face. My real training would begin now. One grueling month later, a system notification heralded the end of my boot camp. My temporary stat buffs vanished, leaving behind the pure gains of my labor. A new level of power coursed through me, begging to be tested. This time, no one at the academy would dare underestimate me. That legendary institution was a gathering place for the world's future legends. Jonah began explaining the entrance exam, unaware I had the entire quest memorized. Past playthroughs flashed through my mind, full of desperate grinding for tuition fees. He unfurled a map displaying the locations of 3 distinct examiners. His question of which path I would take was purely a formality. My finger landed decisively on the high-level senior examiner's location. Both Jonah and Leaf stared, their expressions a mixture of shock and intrigue. Worry creased his brow as he questioned my bold choice. Only a rookie would waste their time on the easy mode examiners. I knew that the S-tier admission ticket was only dropped by the final boss. Jonah grimly announced the trial would take place at the Garden of the Gods. My recent training in combat and stealth had prepared me for any challenge. A sharp reminder followed that my magic skills were sealed until enrollment. A waiting carriage confirmed my suspicion that this quest trigger was different from the game's. Any player character found on that divine mountain would be a top-tier threat. Jonah eyed my single small travel bag with a hint of concern. I quickly assured him it contained no embarrassing items like teddy bears. Leaf, however, praised my practical choices with an approving nod. Jonah's expression grew serious as he announced it was time for our departure. His voice called my name one last time as I beamed, ready for adventure. Our grand carriage lurched forward, beginning the long trek to the mountains. I sighed dramatically, lamenting the lack of a fast travel option in this reality. Leaf's gentle voice broke my reverie, asking if this rest stop was acceptable. My bewildered gaze followed Jonah's gesture towards a strange, boxy building. A photograph, he explained, was needed to document my progress for the Duke. A cold sweat formed on my brow. I knew cameras in this world cost a fortune. This was an outrageous waste of gold when a simple painted portrait would suffice. Jonah's eyes suddenly lit up with an idea that I knew I would immediately regret. Suddenly, he produced an explosion of pink frills in the shape of a dress. My soul visibly left my body at the sight of the horrifyingly girly attire. His pleading look for me to wear it just this once was tragically effective. An exasperated sigh escaped me as I tapped a newly acquired matching pink shoe. This frilly pink debuff was seriously tanking my charisma stat. We stepped inside a studio that smelled of flash powder and old memories. A wizened man behind a massive, boxy camera turned to greet us. The casual question about a family portrait made my soul want to exit my body again. Jonah, ever the stoic, simply requested the swiftest possible procedure. Somehow, the resulting photograph depicted me as a miniature monarch on a velvet throne. Liberated from the pink prison, my comfortable adventuring gear felt like a legendary armor set. Never had a side quest felt so utterly mortifying. Back in the carriage, a flamboyant bard materialized from nowhere, lute in hand. He grandly dedicated his next piece to the rose-cheeked cherub in the corner. My brain short-circuited at being the target of this random NPC's attention. With a dramatic flourish, he announced the truly unsettling title, The Maiden of Ivory Skin. One of his eyes glinted with an unnatural golden light that was not a default character design. Our trio's collective killing intent dropped the carriage's temperature by several degrees. Mercifully, the vehicle shuddered to a halt before anyone committed a crime. Before us lay the Garden of the Gods, swarming with an absolute legion of players. So many other candidates were here to contest the server's top spot. That same minstrel with the creepy eye had somehow teleported directly behind me. I questioned his presence, noting he was far past the level cap for this starting zone. Leaning in conspiratorially, he claimed to be a simple, unobtrusive spectator. His whisper then dropped lower as he declared himself my personal cheering section. Behind me, the glares from my two party members could have melted steel. Swift motion preceded the bard's sudden, sharp recoil. Sporting a fresh bruise, the minstrel merely offered a cheerful vow to see me inside. Then he scampered away with theatrical flair, wishing me a glorious victory. Admittedly, the guy wasn't a boring encounter, earning a sharp look from Leaf. My gaze followed Leaf as she began to turn away from our group. She informed Jonah of a personal errand that required her immediate attention. Sudden worry made me ask if we couldn't just keep the party together. Waving off my concern, she muttered something about a lucky guy before striding away. Jonah's stern voice suddenly cut through my thoughts, halting my next step. A firm lecture followed on the dangers of engaging with strange, wandering minstrels. My pouty denial was immediately shot down by Leaf's parting shot about my generous nature. Red-faced, I sputtered, completely baffled by the accusation. His threat to restrict my social interactions felt like a totally unfair status effect. Careless words about him not being my keeper forever slipped past my lips. Seeing the sudden darkness in his eyes made me wish I could reload a previous save. Finally reaching the registration area, we were met by a queue of truly epic proportions. An official-looking sign confirmed this was, in fact, the endless line for the entrance exam. Leaf reappeared to press a numbered ticket into my hand, sealing our long, tedious wait. Jonah's kind offer to wait a week was immediately rejected. No self-respecting gamer would ever waste that much time being idle. A brilliant game-breaking idea suddenly sparked behind my eyes. Purposefully, I strode through the sea of bored players with a small wooden table. My impromptu arm wrestling challenge was declared with the slam of the table. For an entry fee, challengers would have to wager their precious queue ticket. Skeptical murmurs rippled through the crowd at the sight of their diminutive challenger. Then, a wave of hopefuls surged forward, creating a chaotic mob around my station. Blue light materialized as a system window officially sanctioned my queue jumping tournament. Its text helpfully noted this little game was child's play compared to the real exam. My wicked grin widened at the thought of all the reputation points I was about to farm. One mountain of a man stepped forward, his expression oozing with overconfidence. His condescending gaze swept over me as he prepared to face his tiny opponent. My small hand was completely engulfed by his as we locked our grips. Almost before the match began, his knuckles were firmly pinned to the wood. He could only stare at his defeated arm in absolute shell-shocked disbelief. Plucking the ticket from his limp grasp, I pocketed my first prize. A collective gasp was the only sound from the now silent audience. Flashing a smug little smile, I beckoned for the next fool to try their luck. Challenger after challenger fell in a rapid-fire montage of crushing defeats. Another hand slammed down as I triumphantly called out for more competition. The sight of a hulking warrior openly weeping drew a fresh wave of astonishment. Tapping my fingers impatiently, I wondered aloud if this was the best they had to offer. Behind me, Jonah and Leaf exchanged looks of pure, unadulterated pride. A helpful pop-up graph illustrated the massive benefits of early game stat grinding. Memories of my grueling swordsmanship regimen flashed through my mind. All those hours spent on archery and martial arts had clearly paid off. Even my silly little title, Sandbag Smasher, contributed to this overwhelming power. Beaming with triumph, I declared my strength stat was an unbelievable 29. Whispers of illegal mana enhancement were ignored. This was pure build optimization. A shifty-looking man in the crowd began taking wagers on the outcome of my next match. He cunningly stacked the odds against me, promising a massive payout for my defeat. Close up, the pile of glittering gold coins grew to a truly tempting size. Our eyes met for a moment, and he had the nerve to call me his lucky charm. My sweetest, most innocent smile appeared as I suggested a 50-50 split of his profits. His dismissive smirk proved he had no idea what kind of monster he was dealing with. Instantly, my angelic face twisted into a demonic glare as I mentioned illegal gambling policies. All the color drained from his face as the gravity of his situation finally dawned on him. After his hasty apology, I shot a cheeky victory sign towards my amused guardians. Most of the crowd had dispersed, but a single dark figure remained, watching from the shadows. A strange prickle on my neck sent my gaze scanning the thinning crowd. An unexpected system notification announced the interest of a mysterious observer. Dismissing the alert with a casual wave, I demanded my next opponent step forward. By the following morning, my enthusiasm had dissolved into pure, unadulterated boredom. Jonah theorized my overwhelming power had simply terrified away any potential competition. Letting out a dramatic huff, I kicked a stray pebble, frustrated by the lack of action. Then, a sudden commotion parted the crowd to reveal a new arrival. Emerging from the throng was a mountain of a man with a grin that split his face in two. His booming voice cheerfully asked if the tiny champion was ready for a real match. Holding out a gleaming gold coin, he made his offer, but I dramatically covered my ears. I ignored the crowd's whispers about me being some kind of freak of nature. Their wild guesses about my strength stat hitting 40 were starting to get on my nerves. Protective as ever, Jonah stepped between us, citing the absurd difference in our sizes. The big man just chuckled, clearly more impressed than intimidated by my reputation. Trying a different tactic, Jonah desperately offered to wager a hefty sum of gold instead. For a moment, the giant actually seemed to contemplate the ridiculous proposal. He then completely surprised us by turning on his heel and striding away. We watched in confusion as he approached another man, clapping him on the shoulder. That man, utterly bewildered, simply handed over a single shiny coin. With stunning nimbleness, the behemoth began rolling the coin across his knuckles. Unbelievably, he wasn't a challenger at all, just a street magician giving a lesson. Close up, the gold piece danced effortlessly over his massive, calloused fingers. Meanwhile, his clumsy pupil let out a groan of pure frustration. Watching them, a spark of pure, unadulterated genius suddenly ignited in my mind. Scampering over to another bystander, I proposed an entirely new kind of wager. My smirk returned full force as I offered a bet that relied on luck, not brawn. She points at right fist, confidently with pure happiness, but she missed, causing in distress. However, some guy notes that girl's impressive performance. The first girl calmly explains the lowered entry requirements. Someone questions the calm analysis after losing a spot. Giselle, the ticket hunter, explains he just in line to score a ticket and sell it. As the girl runs past a ape, he challenged her, and the blonde girl smirks. A group reservation opens, admitting 5 more people inside. They manage to beat the long waiting line in just 2 days. The blonde girl celebrates their quick entry with her companions. The sun sets beautifully over the rustic building nestled near the mountains. Giselle enjoys her special oatmeal, while her escorts watch patiently. The man questions her specific oatmeal choice, which she defends strongly. Someone approaches the table as Giselle continues eating her meal. A cheerful bard in a wide hat appears, surprising the blonde girl. The bard reveals he entered yesterday by immediately taking a performance role. He winks, explaining he joined not as a guest but as a bard. Giselle reacts internally, noting someone chose the supposedly low-tier bard job. The bard asks the group if they are there for the ticket examination. He instructs them to listen carefully when the examiner appears hourly from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Giselle realizes the bard knew about the ticket exam hint from the innkeeper's conversation. Suddenly, the bard exclaims, "I'm off!" and quickly dashes out of the room. He is seen running away from the building with a relieved sigh. The bard feels fortunate that luck favored his current endeavor. He gloats about discovering an interesting gem, identified as senior examiner Lord Michael. Later, the blonde girl complains that the place lacks any decent food options. She inquires about honey wine and the vibrant rainbow ice dessert. The innkeeper informs her both the honey and ice are currently unavailable. "Miss, the examiner has already set the challenge," the bard notes. The system reveals Michael's ticket exam event, hinting at a repeating dialogue loop. The girl asks the man if he will just stand there doing nothing. The man assures her he has a plan, while the blonde woman observes silently. Honey is found at Divine Mountain 2000 mm Layer 2, while ice is higher up. The girl questions why they should take the harder route for ingredients. A muscular ape-like man asks if getting sap from a Layer 4 monster counts. The innkeeper agrees if there is enough sap, and the man says he will be quick. Spectators watch as the man heads out alone, questioning his sanity for Layer 4. The man asks the blonde girl which ingredient she is aiming for. He states he is not aiming for any specific ingredient. The blonde girl counters, asking who says there is only one way to pass. He suggests she would aim for something easier, questioning her bravery. He warns his approach might not be liked, claiming he has his own methods. The girl responds with a thoughtful, slightly amused, "Huh." Time skips forward 2 days with a bright exterior shot of the building. Deliveries arrive, and the man confirms all requested items are present. The man tells the delivery person to wait for tea while he checks the goods. People gather outside, reacting with surprise and exclamations of shock. A large hand points as someone recalls an annoyingly handsome beard. The man mentions Giselle, the merchant who is currently trending these days. He hands over a document, suggesting a trade for tickets and other items. A close-up shows a man looking skeptical with a slight sweat drop. A striking blonde figure enters, causing a stir among the onlookers. The older man presents the document to the newcomer, an examiner with 5 years' experience. The document details 32 menu items, a first-time high score of 32 tickets. Someone hands over a glowing item to another person, drawing gasps of "wow" from the crowd. A young blonde girl peeks out, exclaiming "incredible" at the unfolding events. The merchant asks the little lady if she is interested in purchasing a ticket now. A dark-eyed character wonders if this person is a ticket scalper from the game. The cloaked figure held up a glowing item, looking just like his in-game appearance. The blonde girl offered 10 gold coins, but the other character questioned the low price for a bronze ticket. The little lady smiled, stating she wanted to purchase something else from the merchant. She leaned in close, whispering her request secretly to the surprised merchant. The merchant watched as the girl and a man in a suit quickly left the area. 5 days passed at the inn while the merchant observed her progress. He noted that regular running wouldn't help her stats, so training was necessary. The man in the suit began running drills with the girl, showing his intent. He revealed he would call out his attack locations for her to evade the strikes. The girl acknowledged the warning, readying herself for the intense training session. He called out attack locations like right arm, right ear, and left leg. The man instructing her seemed stressed by the intensity of the training. The merchant then asked if she wanted to purchase his meal voucher. The girl excitedly confirmed she wanted to pay for the 32 special dishes. She loved those rare dishes made with Quest ingredients, which she couldn't get elsewhere. The merchant agreed, but questioned the status of her existing ticket. She preferred eating first and worrying about the ticket later, showing confidence. The merchant's eye glowed, suggesting he was considering a counteroffer. He proposed a bet: impress him with her ticket acquisition for free meals. If she lost, she would pay 100 gold and buy a silver ticket from him. The merchant sternly told her to mind her manners while offering food. The assistant noted her incredible confidence in the situation. He decided he would observe their actions from a distance now. After observing for days, the merchant noticed 2 people standing out. He pointed out the maid who offered poisoned candy to the young missy. He also mentioned the butler who threatened her with a sharp object. The observer felt someone nearby should report these dangerous situations. The young miss climbed up onto the table, seemingly unbothered. The assistant asked her what was wrong as she looked confused. He explained the little miss was constantly fighting for survival, which he witnessed. He promised Giselle would ensure her survival if she had nowhere else to go. The cheerful girl asked if the imposing man was trying to recruit her now. The man stated the young miss was going to the academy, not becoming a merchant. A bright flash erupted between the 3 figures, causing a tense standoff. Someone questioned if all these men gathered were Giselle's hired help. A voice simply stated that was enough, ending the current discussion. The little miss happily agreed, gesturing enthusiastically towards the man. The girl waved goodbye to the man who stood beside the stern butler. He concluded his part, saying this was as far as he needed to go now. He left a final thought. An adult would help if she ever faced trouble. The ape-like man offered Thornvine monster sap for a serving. The bald man nervously checked if he had brought enough barrels. The blonde individual sat silently, observing the interaction with a menu. The ape man mocked the blonde, asking why they were still around. He then acknowledged that the blonde seemed to have succeeded. A hand presented a shimmering golden ticket, signifying success. The ape man asked if passing meant no more examiner worries. With glowing eyes, the ape man challenged the blonde to a fight. The blonde smirked, declaring this would serve as a pre-meal workout. The little miss watched them leave, still holding her spoon. The man watched the blonde's imposing figure approach the counter. The blonde skipped happily, leaving a menu on the table. The man asked if this was the opportunity she sought, miss. With a sudden burst of speed, the man moved incredibly fast. The blonde revealed a special request menu for choosing quests. The imposing blonde figure descended the stairs with a serious look. The long-haired man sat down, opening a large, ancient-looking book. His golden eye widened intensely, showing a sudden realization. He turned sharply, his expression now stern and focused. The blonde cheerfully announced her presence to the assembled crowd. She insisted they only come to her, not strangers. A hand gently touched the side of someone's face. He smirked, questioning if she was becoming audacious. Others observed the two vying for the young lady's attention. Her simple demeanor captured the interest of a powerful figure. A tense moment showed a forceful grip being applied. She flew toward the sunset, announcing a nighttime challenge. The cheerful girl pumped her fist, showing great enthusiasm. He noted her early bedtime requirement for 5 straight nights. He held his sword, stating this menu required a long wait. He warned that getting through this challenge would not be easy. She knew timing was crucial for navigating this hidden path successfully. The 5th day menu meant difficulty level 5, matching the mountain's 5th tier. He questioned her arrogance, noting even Beastkin failed tier 4. His hand moved toward the wooden sword resting on the ground. The cheerful girl raised her wooden sword, ready for the confrontation. A powerful surge of energy accompanied her swift upward sword movement. They stood ready, agreeing the outcome would be known after their clash. He let out a small sound, observing her determined stance. His eyes glowed intensely, declaring it was too late for retreat. The two figures faced off beneath a dramatic, fiery sunset sky. The cloaked figure charged forward with intense, focused speed. His powerful advance compressed the very ground beneath him. The girl braced herself, meeting the incoming rush head-on. He paused his momentum, preparing a measured counterstrike. A brilliant flash erupted as their wooden weapons met forcefully. The man's expression showed surprise as the girl held firm. He was thrown back, landing hard as the dust settled. He noted her movements were completely silent and controlled. He acknowledged her talent, recognizing her skill and sharp mind. Solid swordsmanship plus talent grants entrance to Tier 4. The girl was surprised, realizing she had already passed the test. She felt she hadn't even shown her true higher-level abilities yet. He admitted he never expected to give a platinum ticket to a challenger. A dazzling platinum ticket appeared, eliciting a gasp of amazement from her. He praised her strength, technique, analysis, creativity, and swordsmanship across all areas. She happily accepted the reward with a grateful and beaming expression. Suddenly, the man raised his hand, causing the girl to react with shock. He offered an alternative, trading the platinum ticket for 10 gold tickets. The girl reacted with utter confusion and disbelief at the strange offer. Most tickets are low tier, but 9 gold tickets equal a fortune. He recalls that bronze tickets sell for 10 gold, silver for 100. The man confirms the platinum ticket is obviously the superior choice. She suspects his motives, thinking he is testing her, but she has money. He smiles knowingly, questioning her claim about not needing money. He hands her ticket number 15, telling her to take it. He explains that ticket numbers determine value. Single digit is best, then double. She realizes this ticket must be very valuable, asking if it is good. He confirms the ticket details, the entrance exam date and location. She thanks him. As she celebrates, the man suddenly tells her to wait. The man asks for her name under the dramatic sunset sky. She replies with a sweet smile, stating her name is Oknori. He looks away, drawing his sword, perhaps contemplating something serious. He hopes she becomes a talent worth fighting against within 10 years. A sudden sound indicates the sword being struck or dropped quickly. The scene shifts to a building under a rainbow, signaling a dull day. Staff members quickly arrange transportation and luggage for their departure. Oknori stands still, looking slightly confused by the sudden activity. Someone compliments her, saying she was truly impressive, miss. A cheerful merchant named Giselle is then introduced to the group. She confirms winning the bet, showing a small item to the man who admits defeat. He questions if she understands the different types of tickets she possesses. She explains that in the game, tickets were just random luck, unlike these. He notes that even a silver ticket guarantees taking the exam, looking impressed. He realizes this girl must be a carefully raised product of a noble family. He thinks about families pushing children into the top academy, sometimes abusing them. He asks for her family name, but she replies that she does not know. The man reacts strongly, questioning how she could not know her own family name. He asks about her social debut and tea parties with other noble daughters. She only cares if there is plenty of food at those noble gatherings. She is a child sacrificed for her family's glory, apparently. He has decided something, and she asks what his decision is about. He dramatically announces he is taking the entrance exam too. She questions if he plans to lie about his age for the exam. He reveals he hit the 0.1% chance for a hidden character card. She thinks he accepts the result gracefully, like a middle-aged man's dream. She gives him a thumbs up, wishing him good luck with the exam. He protests being called mid, but she enthusiastically cheers him on. He realizes he entered the academy to protect this child, feeling strange. He becomes intensely angry, wanting to flick the brat's forehead. She is shocked, holding the mysterious, sparkling papers tightly. She asks with a strange smile, "What kind of ticket is this?" The narration explains transport is usually by carriage or ship. He thought it would be one of those standard travel methods, but the man adjusts his monocle, preparing to make a statement. He reveals the ticket is for an airship, quite surprising. The girl reacts with wide-eyed astonishment to the airship news. Another man confirms he is going to the entrance exam with the young lady. The monocle-wearing man gives a knowing, intense look. He states it's the last ticket, and the other man offers immediate payment. He asks if they should depart now while handling the tickets. The man confirms it is time to board the magnificent airship. The maid and the girl look confused about the two tickets presented. The girl exclaims in wonder at the sight of the massive airship. She finds the sight of the airship truly amazing and breathtaking. The girl asks Jonah the cost, who replies 10 gold coins. The monocle man explains the ticket is a reward from the master. The girl is shocked, realizing 10 gold coins is a silver ticket price. She realizes Oknoid's family must possess considerable wealth. The girl questions the man about her father's name, receiving a cryptic answer. The man suggests they will still enjoy the trip as ticket exam buddies. The monocle man warns Giselle to be cautious about the journey ahead. He ominously mentions that accidents frequently occur on airships. The man then asks if he has introduced himself to the girl yet. The girl reacts with surprise, calling the man Mouse. A large, hairy man greets them, referencing a big bearded person from before. The first man explains that escorting someone earns an airship ticket. He introduces his escort, Mr. Sono Chun, noting the generous employer. The girl is stunned, realizing they are wasting a silver ticket's worth. The monocle man and his maid stand silently with intense expressions. Someone protests, exclaiming, "You can't do that." The maid coolly responds, asking, "Why not, miss?" The girl angrily states they are rude to anyone approaching her. She enthusiastically praises Uncle Giselle as a lifelong learner, never afraid. She concludes that he poses absolutely no risk, earning stares. The hairy man notes the girl is a really quick talker. The monocle man feels an urge to gently tap her forehead. The airship sails majestically across the bright, cloudy sky. The monocle man suggests checking out the facilities on the trip. The girl looks up with excitement, exclaiming, "Oh!" He suggests they head to the dining hall immediately. The man notes her intense love for eating, while she cheers for more collection items. He reflects on making significant progress with his collection over the last month and a half. The status screen won't pop up, which he finds slightly irritating. He organized the overwhelming information elsewhere, noting 102 collected dishes. He wrote the notes in Korean so no one could read his secrets. The girl exclaims, "Wow," upon seeing the dining area. She declares the abundance of food a true paradise. She happily munches on cookies, surrounded by more sweets. The monocle man questions if she is only eating cookies, and she confirms. She ponders how to define a proper single-serving size. The monkey-like man thinks the girl does not know how to eat properly. He presents various dishes, demonstrating the correct way to eat. The girl is shocked as chocolate chip is added to her food log. She realizes she should just eat like a normal person. The girl sits at the table, looking slightly confused. Mushroom soup is successfully added to her growing collection. Next, crab avocado rolls are logged into her system. A close-up shows salmon sushi being added to the collection. Finally, slices of melon are logged into her food collection. The man compliments her appetite while presenting a new dish. She happily admits the lack of training might be why she ate well. He darkly considers using heavy dishware for future rigorous training sessions. The butler presents another beautifully plated meal, earning his pride. The girl looks surprised and slightly flustered by the sudden praise. The butler praises her admirable persistence and diligence compared to others. A large ape-like figure observes the younger man, who remains composed. The butler expresses belief that the master will eventually acknowledge her. She secretly hopes her father will continue to ignore her existence. He offers a glowing purple gem, telling her hard work unlocks its secret. She stares, surprised and slightly flushed at the glowing purple gem. A small figure cheers, "Let's go train," while others agree to the plan. The ape-like figure questions the boss's serious demeanor while eating. The younger man suggests things are not always as they appear. His glowing purple eye confirms his suspicion that something is hidden. A massive exclamation signals the sudden appearance of a flying ship overhead. She recoils in shock, questioning the possibility of such an inhuman sight. A notice confirms the sky buffet is closed during evening hours. Distressed by the missed meal, she is urgently addressed by her maid. The maid suggests an alternative evening restaurant, prompting her excited agreement. A waiter presents the menu to the seated young lady and gentleman. The maid states she has eaten, while the girl feels sorry about something. She only cares about the buffet and the training area, looking distressed. Shocked by the high dinner prices, she questions the cost to Jonah. Jonah reassures her the master's funds will cover the expensive meal. He explains the master sees the meal as a gift for her platinum ticket. She smiles, seemingly pleased by the master's thoughtful gesture. He asks what happens if she fails to grow stronger. She playfully asks if he will still stay with her if she doesn't grow. He replies that future will not happen, hoping it never arrives. The butler explains the master sponsors children who show talent and grow quickly. He adds that slow-growing children receive little of the master's attention. Jonah asks the butler directly about his own standing with the master. The butler pauses, looking away, leaving the question unanswered for a moment. Sound effects indicate movement near some stacked barrels outside. Jonah grips her wooden sword tightly, showing determination in her stance. The maid appears, observing Jonah's practice with a neutral expression. The maid addresses Jonah, asking if she argued with the butler earlier. The maid wonders if Jonah is showing off her progress for Leaf to see. Jonah quickly denies that her current actions are related to the butler. A stern man suggests ignoring someone eventually gets noticed. Jonah questions why she asks such a childish question while holding her wooden sword. Jonah admits to the maid that she was hurt by the perceived slight. A close-up shows Jonah's wide, expressive blue eye. A hand clutches fabric, declaring those are the person's real feelings. Jonah confesses, hoping the maid would stay, even if it was a falsehood. The maid points out Jonah is just like Leaf, only here to serve the master. Jonah realizes nobody is on her side, but defiantly asks, "So what?" The maid states that even the coldest flower blooms and wilts, and all meetings end. The maid smiles, hoping Miss Ochnady will not fail in her endeavors. No one enjoyed her candy quite like this, apparently. So, the maid offers a jar of colorful sweets as a promise. Until the candy is gone, the maid promises to stay with her. Jonah questions if the maid will leave if called back home. The maid confirms she must leave if the order arrives. Unbelievable. Overwhelmed, Jonah embraces the maid tightly in a sudden hug. Jonah expresses genuine happiness to have Leaf as her maid. Leaf reciprocates the hug, truly grateful to serve her miss. Jonah pulls back, feeling something significant from the interaction. She declares she feels it, letting the situation pass just this once. Jonah suddenly calls out to Leaf with excitement. Leaf suggests going to the casino with a mischievous grin. Jonah is completely stunned by Leaf's bold suggestion. Leaf points out a special kids zone restriction for short people. Jonah reacts with intense frustration, calling Leaf a bad maid. Leaf confidently claims she has a trick for copying expert money. Leaf imagines showering Jonah with money while being called Miss. Leaf informs Jonah that the casino has strict height and age limits. Jonah is shocked to realize her height is only 133 cm. Leaf firmly declares she will devise a plan to get them in. Someone insists Jonah wait in a safe place, causing frustration. Leaf questions the designated safe place, looking confused. She realizes the height restrictions mean she could never enter. Leaf, the pro gamer, becomes intrigued by the challenge. Leaf dramatically rushes forward with a loud exclamation. Crying babies are heard while one plays quietly. Leaf is overwhelmed, losing health points from the chaos. A large mass of colorful balls rushes toward the screen. Leaf pops up from the ball pit, gaining stealth EXP. She grins, realizing dodging the babies worked out well. She wonders about the academy entrance and her chances of getting in. Leaf pops up from the colorful ball pit, looking around. She overhears talk about the academy and questions what she heard. Others complain about babies being annoying and leaving drool behind. A girl asks if Max's brother is enrolling at the academy this year. Max replies he must try out, noting prodigies enrolling at 15. They question if kids their age even pass, but one is called Gullible. A sudden explosion of balls startles the nearby couple holding a baby. Leaf emerges from the chaos, leaving the others shocked and speechless. Everyone settles back down, Leaf now sitting separately from the others. The girl asks if Jess and Max are friends due to their parents. Max and Jess are surprised, questioning if they are also going to the exam. They excitedly confirm if Ogno is also heading for the entrance exam. The girl realizes she revealed too much about their plans. The baby reaches out to the blonde girl, saying, "A boo-boo." The blonde girl offers assistance to the boy holding the baby. She is complimented on being mature, claiming she is practically an adult. The baby calls out, "Baba," while looking at the blonde girl. She notices the ball the baby holds feels unusually heavy. The blonde girl realizes the glowing object is actually a stat stone. The fairy-dressed figure notes this area is new, perhaps holding unseen stat stones. The blonde girl considers testing the stone's properties by swallowing it. Suddenly, a powerful aura erupts as someone realizes something important. The blonde girl quickly grabs the baby, exclaiming, "Okay, Noti!" Everyone is shocked, asking why the baby swallowed a ball pit ball. The other girl rushes off to find an adult, while the blonde insists she knows the nurse's office. The blonde girl reassures the other girl, saying, she believes Leaf will come looking for her, noting her estimated strength is 29. Not wanting any children to be harmed, she says, oops. Hoping to return quickly, they rush off, shouting, hurry, hurry! A maid appears, looking slightly confused, asking with an ellipsis. She smiles knowingly, remarking that the miss is at it again. The maid then looks down, asking if the target is present. Observing the situation, someone notes making the cliché choice. The maid steps into a massive ball pit, thinking this will be a good match. People call out for Miss while she is submerged in the colorful balls. Suddenly, a massive flying ship appears in the bright sky, causing shock. The blonde girl mentions an undocumented minor event not in the magic archive. A man suggests it is likely just a transmitter malfunction, calming the girls. The blonde girl's eyes glow intensely, questioning why a nearly 10-year-old is unregistered. Someone tells them to hold on and have a seat while staff observes. The blonde girl is asked if it is true she is unregistered, which she denies knowing about. She is shocked, realizing she has no knowledge of any magic registration. An announcement is made for a lost child matching the blonde girl's description. The blonde girl realizes someone named Leaf must be looking for her now. She decides she should probably head back, but someone calls out her name. The other girl explains unregistered families are considered abnormal according to her parents. The blonde girl considers this, admitting that perhaps her family is indeed unusual. She states she receives support and training and finds this current guardian the best. She mentions Jonah and Leaf assist with training, expressing gratitude towards Papa. Practice duels and sprints sound intense. Archery with animals is shocking. The blonde girl urges Oknud to run away with her immediately. They quickly flee the scene, with one girl exclaiming, uh-oh. Kind nurses offer the girls some candy while they wait for their guardian. The blonde girl asks about the candy flavor, looking excited. The other girl suddenly pulls out a firearm, aiming intensely. The blonde girl is shocked as they run away from the startled nurses. The blonde girl questions if their sudden departure is even permitted. The blonde girl explains how to use the emergency escape pod from the airship. The blonde girl looks intrigued by the glowing escape pod mechanism. She admits she was just playing around, gaining skill experience. Skill experience notifications pop up, followed by a miss from the other girl. A stern man with a monocle asks if they enjoyed themselves. The blonde girl calls out, Jonah, as the other girl cries out in protest. A magical process shows a child's identity being registered over 5 years old. The man menacingly states the only reason to avoid registration is hiding something bad. The blonde girl tells Oknoid not to leave. She insists that Oknoid does not have to live for someone else. The blonde girl calls out, Jess, as the other girl cries profusely. The blonde girl affectionately tells Jess she is her first real friend. She honestly states her plan is enrolling in the academy. The blonde girl declares that graduating with honors will fix everything. The other girl, Jess, cries out Oknoid's name repeatedly. The blonde girl gently releases Jess's hand, saying goodbye. She then tells Jonah, let's go, walking away determinedly. Someone mentions Leaf is probably very worried about them. The man with the mustache states no more questions or explanations are needed. He implies that knowing the situation should not surprise them. The blonde girl explains the whole incident was just a prank. Guards were useless. They shake hands again, acknowledging the current situation they are in. The man says, let's go, and the blonde girl happily agrees. A girl watches the man and the blonde girl walk toward a large clock. A boy named Max runs up, urgently asking where Jess is. Jess tearfully tells Max she has made a decision about Oknoida. Jess declares she will help that poor child, Oknoid, to Max. Max reacts with surprise, insisting they are good kids. An approaching man tells the children not to be scared, asking who they are. The man introduces himself as Giselle, boss of the ticket hunters. Max is identified as Max Montblanc from the Montblanc family. Jess is identified as Jess Millefeuille from the Millefeuille family. Max questions if Jessica will surely help with their plan. Giselle states this is just a small part of the bigger plan. They agree to get stationary, and Max vows the effort won't be wasted. The airship journey concludes as many figures disembark onto the shore. A boot steps down, signaling the end of the travel segment. They have reached the second entrance exam location, which has a nice view. The group, including Max and Jess, begins walking through the lush greenery. Max wonders where this other group of people is heading now. They see Giselle, a maid, a small girl, and a large beastman nearby. The beastman's presence confirms gold ticket holders are also heading this way. The group passes a stack of stones, observing the surroundings. The blonde girl realizes the objective of this particular examination. An older gentleman warns her against tampering with the stones. Other examinees gather before a massive, imposing wooden gate. Jonah cautions the young lady that they cannot supervise her during the test. The girl calls out, "Jonah!" with an expression of deep affection. Jonah assures her of success and offers a small bag of candy. She happily accepts the treat, promising to perform her absolute best. The maid worries about the young miss becoming too attached to people. Jonah points out that others will look after her at the testing site. The maid questions if he kept Jonah around specifically for this moment, and he confirms it. A warning is issued that other scholarship holders might view the young miss as competition. Someone calls out, "Hey, Mouse!" to the blonde girl, who looks slightly surprised. A large man teases her about looking relaxed while accompanied by nannies, which she dismisses. One of the escorts suggests Miss Oknoti should start feeling nervous, confusing her. The group observes that the other entrants do not seem happy to see them arrive. Onlookers comment on her associating with a common beastman and a mercenary. The onlookers conclude they do not owe her any favors based on her company. The girl thinks it is funny how being ignored irritates her just as much as being bothered. The beastman advises her that if she cares about every little thing, she will eliminate herself first. The girl is momentarily speechless after the beastman's blunt advice. She cheerfully thanks him for the good advice while he picks his nose. Suddenly, a loud shout erupts as the group faces a tense situation. The mercenary observes the crowd, noting someone chose a poor confrontation. Another entrant is down, having lost a limb to the swordsman's swift action. The girl recognizes the formidable swordsman from the Eastern Empire named Xing. Someone comments that the defeated person must have provoked Xing's boundaries. Xing is identified as a powerful, playable character within the system. She realizes Xing is a strong supporting character even if not chosen. The girl notes Xing is difficult to recruit, but his capabilities are excellent. The system warns that eye contact with Xing initiates immediate combat. She earned a large point bonus for arriving 15 hours early to the exam. Realizing the points are useless now that the game is reality, she sighs. Time passes as the scene shifts to a grand castle structure. Projectiles seem to be impacting the castle walls around the entrance. An elder figure stands observing the surroundings from a high vantage point. The elder addresses the assembled crowd, signaling the start of proceedings. Entry to the senior testing ground is officially declared closed now. Two distinct, potentially antagonistic figures smile ominously at the announcement. The girl, now determined, announces the commencement of the gate exam's first round. The monk introduces himself as Mayangho, presiding over the initial gate exam. He explains his role involves managing spectral entities and objects for the academy. Another participant notes this warrior monk is clearly not ordinary personnel. The Eastern Empire relies on local spirits, unlike the West's 12 powerful gods. Stone towers serve as faith symbols to summon mountain gods for protection. The first round task is stacking as many stones as possible before time expires. The blonde girl confirms the exam is stone tower stacking, which sounds deceptively easy. The elder warns that tower collapse or inability to proceed results in immediate disqualification. She grins, anticipating a chaotic event where participants sabotage each other's structures. Everyone is instructed to take out their entry tickets and secure them to their wrists. Injury or forfeiting sends a rescue signal, but don't rely on it too much. Losing a limb or the head means instant failure, illustrated by a chalk outline. Gold ticket holders can retake lower exams, platinum holders skip to mid-level finals. The detailed rules make the game feel surprisingly serious, noting penalties for excessive elimination. She realizes that without key players, the usual chaotic events should not occur. The main and supporting character's absence ensures a clean run without regional interference. Realizing this, she resolves to perform well and declares the start of the challenge. The first gate exam officially commences as the crowd watches from above. A hairy companion asks the blonde girl, nicknamed Mouse, about her immediate strategy. Another participant recognizes the blonde girl as Irene, the Northern Grand Duchess. The dark-haired woman emanates a powerful icy aura with glowing blue eyes. A massive glowing blue crystal materializes, surrounded by arcane symbols. Screaming participants are swept away by an unseen, powerful blue force. The hairy companion questions why they were attacked without provocation. The blonde girl, Mouse, stands frozen between two imposing figures. The monkey-like man swiftly defends against an incoming icy attack. The man notes the cold and praises the ice defense cloak brought. Irene, the Northern Grand Duchess, unleashes a massive magical circle. She is known as a combat mage fighting northern barbarians since childhood. The blonde girl seems distressed, realizing the danger of attacking Irene. Someone calls out, making the two companions look around in confusion. The blonde girl emerges, having gained stealth and quick maneuver experience. She confidently states she trained for exactly these kinds of dangerous situations. The monkey-like man questions what specific situation she means with surprise. She excitedly explains, dodging magical attacks or escaping from assassins. They are shocked, asking if she truly practiced hiding from assassins regularly. The girl confirms her constant practice, leaving the others speechless. The companions agree they need to speak with the butler and maid later. Irene establishes a clear boundary with imposing ice spikes, warning trespassers. The blonde girl recognizes these powerful figures as territorial types. She confidently tells them to trust and follow her instructions now. Pointing at the ground, she insists they must climb the mountain, not just walk. She questions if the academy entrance exam would really be that simple. The group realizes this is an unexpected event the non-player characters do not know. Looking up, she estimates they have about 5 hours remaining. A warning flashes. A landslide is predicted to occur 1 hour before the exam ends. They immediately start running quickly up the slope. The monkey-like companion questions if climbing the rocky mountain is the correct strategy. Other examinees observe them climbing in the middle of the mountain, commenting on their intensity. Someone shouts in disbelief, questioning if the climbing group is completely insane. A character insists they are stronger, while another objects to leaving the current location. The narrator sets the stage, contrasting the large coalition at the base with others. A skill showdown erupts between groups at mid-mountain, involving fighting and chaos. The fugitive group hides deep, while hunters thin out other test-takers, and finally, the protagonist group gains experience points for climbing and watching for rivals. A companion offers food, and the blonde protagonist happily accepts the treat. She realizes the jerky is special, adding honey butter jerky to her collection. Observing her enjoyment, the companion notes the guy must eat well. The protagonist thinks they must maintain good relations with rich merchants. Suddenly, the protagonist reacts with surprise, shouting, "Wait!" as something happens. Suddenly, a hunter group appears, announcing they have finally caught up. The companion panics, fearing death as the group breathes heavily. The Beastman companion challenges the newcomers, asking if they want to fight. The leader of the approaching group proudly declares they are the Isonia Adventurer Guild. She angrily blames brats and beastmen for half their guild members dying. The blonde protagonist is shocked, realizing this revenge is misdirected. The enraged leader vows they are paying back the perceived wrongdoers now. The beastman tells them to direct anger at the truly guilty parties. He explains the ones who caused the trouble are already eliminated. The furious guild leader screams, demanding someone else to take their rage out on. She realized they were merely young people with nowhere to direct their fury. The soldiers, still angry, were ordered to seize the group. A rope was suddenly thrown with great speed. The female guard warned everyone that something was rapidly approaching. The blonde girl and her companions looked confused by the incoming object. A system notification declared a dangerous landslide event was occurring. The priority shifted immediately to surviving the earthquake and landslide. The soldiers reacted with alarm as the ground began to shake violently. The blonde girl gripped the rope tightly as the danger intensified. Large debris and rocks began crashing down all around them. Someone trapped below desperately cried out for assistance. A determined figure gripped the rope, pulling with great effort. The purple-eyed girl hauled up several people dangling from the rope. A close-up showed the intense focus and slight injury on her face. The blonde girl strained, holding the thick rope with both hands. The unstable hillside continued shedding dirt and small rocks nearby. The group gathered safely, looking towards the rope holders in silence. The blonde girl questioned if someone named Lambda was involved. The dark-haired girl wondered why they were being helped after harsh words. There are many reasons, like preventing future villainous transformations. The blonde girl stated they wouldn't believe her explanation anyway. The dark-haired girl simply said she helped because she could. This act was described as kindness offered with no expectation of reward. A man recalled their late guild leader shared similar selfless qualities. He mumbled about adventurers aspiring to the life of an unconstrained spirit. The blonde girl pondered the meaning of a spirit's pure life. The dark-haired girl admitted they had lost, and the other agreed. She declared they lost as contestants, adults, and adventurers alike. Someone told Isabel they were out, that they must forfeit. Isabel reacted with surprise, realizing the statement excluded her. They admitted they were not strong enough and never planned on the academy. They asked Isabel to carry their hopes, leaving her tearful and surprised. The group apologized, while others watched the unfolding situation. Someone asked for forgiveness for their leader, noting her strength as an asset. The blonde girl deferred the decision to Miss Oknoti, who saved them. Another person agreed, leaving the final choice to Mouse. The blonde girl then unexpectedly asked Isabel if she could cook. Isabel looked up, surprised by the sudden, practical question. The blonde confirmed adventurers must be self-sufficient, shaking hands. With that condition met, the blonde happily declared Isabel was in. Isabel sincerely thanked the blonde girl for the opportunity. The group watched as the handshake sealed the deal for Isabel's inclusion. An elder declared a bright future for the Asonia Guild. The system announced survival in the landslide event, triggering a chime. Isabel gained new skills and experience points from the successful trial. The blonde girl was thrilled, noting they secured a capable cook. The elder announced the results, noting many participants dropped out. Out of 500 entrants, only 185 would advance to the next stage. The crowd listened intently as the elder prepared to speak further. He stressed that true greatness requires independence, not just ritual following. The blonde girl reacted with surprise to the elder's statement about exceptions. The elder identified Akhnudi as the youngest survivor who also showed compassion. The blonde girl looked utterly bewildered by the sudden attention and praise. Intense gazes from powerful figures focused on the young blonde contestant. She became extremely flustered, desperately wishing to avoid their scrutiny. She admitted she only wanted to avoid injury or failing the landslide challenge. The elder announced an immediate pass privilege for Miss Oknodi, surprising everyone. Others congratulated her, calling her lucky and deserving of the advancement. Oknodi reacted with shock, clearly not expecting this special treatment. The elder stated he would not use the pass, as he leaves no teammates behind. The team reacted with stunned silence to the elder's declaration. The young man asked Oknodi why they would ever leave her behind. Oknodi explained that this was simply how she had always lived. Others angrily blamed the large man for causing them to fall into a weight trap. Oknodi sighed, admitting the memory of that incident still bothered her. The group stood silently as the tension seemed to build around them. The elder then stated, if she didn't want the pass, so be it. He announced they would proceed immediately to the second stage of the challenge. Oknodi wondered where the next test location would be situated. She hoped the next trial would not take place in the hunter's forest. The masked figure smirked, radiating an intense dark energy. The crowd gathered before a massive, imposing stone gate structure. Oknodi expressed her immediate dread about the impending situation. A giant boot descended as a voice commanded everyone's attention. The proctor introduced herself as Minerva of the Second Gate, Hunter's Forest. Some onlookers admired the cool ranger mask, while Oknodi felt cursed. This test combined searching, points, and an endurance marathon, Minerva explained. The goal was to keep pace with the examiner and reach the forest's end. Participants needed 50 points or face immediate disqualification from the trial. Losing your ticket watch is your own fault, with harsh penalties for taking lives. The examiner declared the test starting, and Oknodi reacted with surprise. Oknodi shot forward incredibly fast, leaving everyone else behind. Many other participants began their grueling run through the terrain. A large ape-like man offered a blonde girl a piggyback ride, which she refused. Others discussed the pace, noting that stopping for bonuses meant falling behind. Accumulating points makes you a prime target for those seeking points. A runner asked Oknodi for a decision regarding their strategy, and she agreed. A determined-looking man with blue eyes maintained a steady, focused pace. The woman beside him considered their options: hunting others or farming points. The crowd surged forward, with a blonde man looking intensely determined. Oknodi questioned the sudden mention of Isabel while running. The blonde runner urgently asked if anyone possessed bug spray. The dark-haired woman looked utterly confused by the strange request. The blonde girl happily produced a can ready to use it. She distributed the spray, telling everyone to use it up now. The blonde insisted there was a good reason for this action. The blonde girl then pulled out a bag of colorful fruit snacks. She offered the delicious-looking treats, asking if anyone was hungry. The monkey-like companion eagerly accepted a piece of fruit. Someone reacted strongly as the monkey-like figure was hit by something. The monkey-like figure exclaimed, "Isn't that poison candy?" The blonde girl responded, looking unconcerned. "I'm perfectly fine, though." Another person requested a treat, and the blonde happily agreed, "Sure." The boy happily took a treat, while the armored girl looked surprised. The boy immediately reacted badly, expelling a rainbow stream while the girl watched. The blonde girl became furious, demanding why they took it if not eating. The large monkey-like man asked who gave the treat to the boy. The blonde girl explained her maid advised, savoring the special item. The armored girl and the large man quickly chased after the fleeing blonde. The monkey-like man suggested eliminating the girl, calling her a mere pawn. The large man wondered if they should just steal the candy pouch instead. The armored girl stated there was no need, noting the kid's poison resistance. She realized the girl's tolerance to poison was unusual for her age. The monkey-like man and the other companion reacted with surprise. The blonde girl cheerfully asked if it was time to take a break. The monkey-like man excitedly asked if that meant doing side quests. He then asked if she was worried about being hunted while they ran. The blonde girl smiled confidently, asking if he was the one scared. The companion urgently asked about her right arm and right ear. The blonde girl confirmed her training, mentioning her left leg and poison experience. The man assured them that this kind of test would not scare the little miss. The blonde girl declared they should go for side quests first while running quickly. A wooden sign displayed illegible writing, noting every character has a personality. Upon stopping, someone announced finding a side quest, noting personalities vary greatly. The girl looked downcast, realizing this side quest was a playground for troublemakers. The instructions stated the first 10 to finish get 10 bonus points added to their ticket. The task was to capture a white-tailed mongoose and bring it back to the base camp. Trainers at the base camp explained the rules. First 10 finishers get bonus points. The monkey-like man asked what a white-tailed mongoose was, prompting a question to him. He replied he wouldn't know, as nothing like that lived in his forest, causing annoyance. The blonde girl excitedly exclaimed about gaining adventurer knowledge. The monkey-like man questioned if the captured animal was a mongoose. Someone presented a small brown creature, calling it a weak little critter. A hand dramatically held up the captured animal, revealing it was brown-tailed. The person who caught it tossed the creature away, deeming it useless. The blonde girl quickly caught the falling animal with surprise and light. She confronted the thrower, asking why bother with the wrong kind of animal. A group of dark figures appeared, questioning if she was the top scorer. A large hand patted her head, stating she fell for a trick. The monkey-like man cheerfully noted that Mouse was experiencing a growth spurt. They noted she would consume almost anything, asking if it was for food. The man asked if she truly intended to eat the creature, which she hadn't considered. She decided catching 8 or so more would be a good idea just in case. The blonde girl announced she could cook, as a pile of creatures lay ready. Someone questioned if this quantity of catch was excessive. She reassured them, explaining half were for the test, which required white-tailed ones. She confidently stated she could make it work while approaching a large tree. With a smile, she announced that she had successfully located one. She then asked Mr. Sano-chun to use his spear to crack the tree bark. A powerful impact sound effect indicated the spear striking the tree. They expressed amazement at her cleverness even during the ticket examination. The cracked tree oozed a glowing, thick substance after the impact. The ape-like man praised Mouse's quick thinking while she gathered something. A group of stern-looking soldiers observed the proceedings with suspicion. The blonde girl proudly held up several small animals she had acquired. The soldiers felt this task exceeded their expected duties, suggesting direct inquiry. The examiner, Minerva, was introduced as a ranger valuing instinct and creativity. The girl confidently believed the examiner would appreciate their resourceful approach. An examiner approached the group standing in the clearing after the task. The examiner confirmed their success, stating the clever trick earned them all passage and bonus points. The girl cheered, but her companion warned them not to relax yet. A menacing group appeared, declaring the real challenge was just beginning. Some individuals questioned targeting the resourceful team, suggesting easier prey. A swift, powerful strike sent a weapon slamming into the ground dramatically. The weapon tip embedded deeply, cracking the earth beneath it intensely. A close-up showed a stern face with intensely focused, glowing eyes. Another group hesitated, deeming the target team too difficult to engage. A satisfied man praised the ape-like companion, saying the hiring was worthwhile. The hairy companion demanded another round if they were truly grateful. He revealed the flask contained strong alcohol, surprising the blonde girl. The girl questioned how much she needed to consume for food log credit. She then walked away thoughtfully through the sunlit woods. A flashback showed a couple frequently sharing drinks together. The woman exclaimed about having a lower tolerance than Shia. The ape-like figure warned against giving alcohol to children. The blonde girl decided she would pursue the alcohol later. Her eyes reflected the gourd, focused intensely on her food collection goal. Startled, the girl reacted when someone asked about getting lost. The large companion noted the leading group was out of sight. The girl confidently stated she already had many leads to follow. The group quickly accelerated, chasing the leading party through the bright woods. The blonde girl pointed ahead, declaring, "Here we go." She successfully located the vanguard's footprints, gaining observation and tracking experience. The large companion questioned if the girl actually possessed hunting experience. The girl confidently retorted that she obviously did have experience. The companion mocked her, asking what rabbit she hunted given her size. The girl became angry, claiming she hunts monsters, sometimes even people. The monkey-like man looked shocked, and the girl quickly retracted her statement. She sheepishly admitted it was just a bad joke to the stunned group. Another companion placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, saying, "It's fine." One companion insisted they must ambush others to pass through. The blonde girl worried about her companions getting injured during these actions. The dark-haired companion looked on with a soft expression. A shadowy figure whispered that the girl was incredibly naive. The blonde girl resolved to act tough to avoid cooking duties due to injury. The dark-haired woman covered her mouth, seemingly emotional, as a man watched. The girl called out to Isabel, who then told her to call her sis. The dark-haired woman appeared to be crying, prompting the girl's concern. The companion realized the harsh training this child must have endured. Poison resistance, tracking, swordsmanship, archery, and even hunting people were listed. She is now helping them because of a kind heart surviving a difficult past. The leader suggests they stop here for a rest amidst the beautiful scenery. The large companion excitedly suggests cooking some mongoose meat for a meal. The woman instructs the other two to gather the necessary firewood immediately. Giselle is called over by the man, who responds with a simple yes. He is asked if he and the other man are helping the young girl. The man thinks he wants to assist the group with whatever is needed. She feels she already owes a life debt and should help despite her fears. The man realizes she is serious about helping them out now. He acknowledges that stopping her efforts at this point would be impossible. He wonders where to begin explaining the situation first. A shadowy figure promises to detail the group traveling with Miss Oaknody. Escaping guards on an airship effortlessly suggests considerable capability. The girl is described as an amazing kid, both good and challenging. He notes Isabel seems to have endured a difficult history. She explains she just turned 18 and learned skills to help voluntarily. He questions if she is missing anything from that backpack. She admits to being a former ticket scalper, nothing to boast about. He suggests she must have earned good money selling those tickets before the exam. The man realizes he is involved with quite a remarkable young person. The blonde girl asks if they should keep searching for something else. They set up camp, and a system notification confirms a new recipe. The blonde girl is extremely happy while enjoying the roasted meal. The man is glad everyone enjoyed the food as they relax by the fire. The monkey-like man notes others are approaching, likely drawn by the smell. A wide shot shows the small group gathered around the campfire at night. A new group arrives, and the leader asks what brings the Western Noble Alliance. The man warns the monkey-like companion to choose his words carefully regarding the West. One of the newcomers quickly states they are not there for a confrontation. The monkey-like man intensely demands to know their true purpose if not fighting. They ask to learn campfire making and want some meat too. The blonde girl recognizes the newcomer as Anthony Sobero, the mental smash. Anthony declares himself the Western Noble Alliance's third-ranked swordsman. The newcomers offer payment for assistance, eager to eat. The blonde girl reacts strongly to the arrogant claim about commoners. She quickly suggests they should just leave the situation. The monkey-like man praises the mouse for agreeing they should leave. He states they cannot help those with such entitlement. The monkey-like figure unleashes a powerful, intimidating burst of energy. The entire Western Noble Alliance group is violently thrown backward. They question who that arrogant person spouting nonsense was. Someone demands Baron Yutao's son not be invited to the festival. The young girl feels her heart soften, seeing the distressed boy. A commanding voice declares, "Enough," stopping the commotion. This is His Highness Anderson Priesel, leader of the Western Noble Alliance. The mouse-like figure recognizes Anderson, the younger son of the founding house. Anderson states nobles must take responsibility for their words to wield power. He offers the child of the Yutao family a chance to correct his error. The boy apologizes, admitting he did not mean to cause offense. The girl insists harsh words are wrong, and everyone is equal at the academy. He offered emergency family rations, fried bread high in calories. The delicious, sparkling fried bread was presented to the girl. The girl happily accepted the treat, exclaiming she was lucky. She began eating the bread, noting nobles name families after dishes. She wondered what food family her father belonged to, recalling a rumor. She was momentarily lost in thought about Oaknody's sticky rice and kimchi. The guard quickly denied knowing any traditional family name like that. The man commented on the little Mrs. Kind heart, making the mouse melt. The guard hoped she would continue growing up so very kind. The Yutao family was added to the recipe collection, perhaps for a week. Someone exclaimed they needed 2 more weeks, not just 1. A character reacted with an intense, wide-eyed expression of shock. The little miss, now in a sleeping bag, wondered what was happening. A man noticed a second quest nearby, exciting his companion. The monkey-like man agreed to the second quest, finding it fun. Another woman observed the area, noting the dangerous screams continuing. She decided they should first investigate the details of the quest. The blonde girl reminded everyone they still needed to earn points. The blonde boy stood silently, contemplating the situation before them. He then declared they should proceed, and others quickly agreed. The blonde boy thanked the other man for his assistance, who replied it was nothing. The blonde girl announced she would split off here, and the boy agreed. A close-up showed the boy's intense, focused blue eye. A crowd gathered, with one person shouting, "Oknoti," and another responding with, "Yes." A warrior woman asked the blonde girl if they should move out next, receiving an affirmative. The group moved forward through the sunny green landscape. A man in military attire announced that the participants had arrived. The quest involved snatching a glowing golden ball in the center, limited to 6 participants. The blonde girl looked serious, hearing the quest rules. No retries, worth 40 points, failure outside bounds. The other man reacted with surprise as someone grabbed his throat, stating it helps the many, punishes the few. The leader asked Miss Oknoti for her final decision regarding the challenge. Another group felt their 4 members were too strong to face only 2 opponents. The monkey-like man declared he was fine attempting the quest alone. The others expressed trust in Miss Oknoti's judgment on the situation. Miss Oknoti then decided they should simply quit the quest, cool and simple. She reiterated the decision to skip the challenge, keeping things straightforward. The monkey man questioned why they should quit when weaker opponents were present. He boasted that even solo, he could easily overcome those weaker participants. He asked if he had ever led them astray, urging them to trust him. A close-up showed his determined, slightly menacing expression. He claimed Mouse's instincts beat his own in the first exam. He playfully tapped the girl's head, saying he would let this one slide. The girl countered that only 5 people could possibly cooperate against them. She admitted she would not have stopped him if that was the only issue. The real reason she stopped him was the tiny chance of a trap. Being greedy for points and losing their ticket watch was simply foolish. Others were then shown ensnared by thorny vines, crying out for release. The masked figure asked how the protagonist knew they had formed an alliance. She confessed she did not care and would have trapped them regardless. Someone cried out about the excessive nature of the restraint method. The masked figure declared someone disqualified with a powerful strike. She told the defeated person to join the lower-level re-exam group. A cry of despair echoed as the consequence was enforced. Someone called the masked figure a monster for her actions, gaining 10 points. Zhuang received loot score plus 10 points for the action. The task score increased by 40 points, a significant gain. She celebrated breaking the 50-point pass mark with the glowing orb. The masked figure wondered about the identity of the kid who saw through her. That kid was the top scorer from the first gate with razor instincts. She questioned how they saw through her tricks, a first-time occurrence. The masked figure stood there, seemingly composed. She questioned how the kid avoided the biting insects. A large group of hopeful participants gathered below. Officials announced the third quest, Tag, to the assembled crowd. Others noted the massive turnout for this new challenge. The blonde girl wondered about the remaining bonus quests and the goal. Many worried about reaching the cutoff point and not affording to quit. The blonde girl grinned, realizing the points could benefit them too. An instructor reminded everyone to review the rules before starting. The complicated rules for the high-scoring tag quest were displayed. The big guy stressed remembering rules 5 and 6 were most important. The blonde girl winked, suggesting they should just trust her instead. Her companions blushed, clearly charmed by her confident suggestion. A merchant announced services like food and medical aid were available. He added that anything was tradable provided you had enough points. The brown-haired girl questioned if this devalued their existing points. The monkey-like man asked if Mouse wasted those 10 points earned earlier. The blonde girl reassured them, saying they could now gain and spend points simultaneously. The monkey-like man seemed convinced, realizing the advantage of an early start. The blonde girl approached the instructor, asking to purchase a service or item. She asked the instructor to lean down so she could speak privately. The instructor agreed, asking what the little applicant needed from him. The blonde girl covered her mouth, inquiring if he sold items like this. The instructor paused, considering her request with a thoughtful expression. She pressed, asking if he refused to sell the item she wanted. He told her to wait a moment while he checked something. The instructor then used a communication device while she waited patiently. He turned away, speaking into the device near the large tent structure. The instructor turned back, looking down at the surprised blonde girl. The chief examiner of the second gate wanted to speak with her directly. She hesitantly answered the device with a soft, "Hello?" The examiner asked if she had ever used a communication spell before. She mumbled that perhaps a noble might have used one for a simple call. Realizing her slip, she felt embarrassed about thinking of it like a phone call. The masked examiner praised her creativity as very impressive. The girl cheerfully replied, "Ha, what can I say? I'm good." The examiner countered that it would be better if she were more humble. She asked if requests like that usually couldn't be granted, receiving a firm, "Yes, not for sale." The examiner declared that being the first to invent a new idea is a powerful asset in the wild. As a sign of respect for her creativity, she offered to sell one for 10 points. Someone exclaimed that Miss Onodai was truly something else. They were amazed she bought a single-use permit to become a black hat instructor. She innocently asked if that was really impressive, while others told her to think about it. The game continues forever if the black hat instructor isn't found, they explained. The monkey-like character suggested staying near the instructor, so others would come to him. The first man cheered, realizing the game was about breaking past the lurking taggers. He added that she cleverly set it up to bail herself out anytime she wished. The girl beamed, asking if they now saw how great she was. Another woman praised Onodai, calling her a genius, and patted her head affectionately. However, it wasn't a total cheat code, as they still must catch other runners if tagged. Someone asked Onodai if she's the kid they are looking for. The man introduces himself as Maximus Montblanc, Max's older brother. Okino? Dai reacts with surprise, questioning who Max is again. Another person sighs, realizing Max was completely off her radar. The man gets agitated, asking if they did not board the airship here. The two children are shocked, asking if they are also here for the exam. Maximus confirms that the kid asked him to look after them. He warns that there is a nasty trap within this task. Okno-D wonders if the trap is just annoying mosquitoes. The instructor states the challenge is an illusion, asking how she knows about the black hat instructor. They question how the instructor knows the black hat's location. Rule 6 states leaving requires finishing the tag game. The instructor declares everyone is trapped within this forest area. The blonde girl confirms the trick. The game is against the black hat. A menacing figure in uniform glows with an intense red aura. The contestants prepare to fight the black hat instructor. The standard plan involves scouting the center and charging through. Alternatively, they could annoy Minerva until she gives them a clue. The smiling young man notes they are now in a difficult situation. He suggests they would have passed easily if they had listened. Applicant Oknodi's hide-and-seek challenge was registered, causing an outburst. The blonde girl quickly urged everyone to move along despite the chaos. Another contestant apologized to Mr. Maximus before proceeding with the registration. They claimed instant instructor power meant they didn't need to worry, just lucky. The group then headed into the bright, sunlit forest area. A concerned teammate asked the blonde girl if she would manage all right. She cheerfully replied it was fine since she was already at 0 points. The blonde noted their group only had one person tagged as the chaser. They realized they must quickly help Oknodi find someone to tag. However, everyone else seemed to have disappeared into the dense woods. She replied, "Not quite," with a knowing smile. A teammate questioned Miss Oknodi's strange actions in the woods. Oknodi claimed she was just checking for nearby fruit. Suddenly, a hand slammed down onto the ground nearby. Someone called out "Yoo-hoo" while leaping down, which Oknodi dodged. The person who jumped was sent tumbling away in bright flashes. The other girl exclaimed, realizing Oknodi knew her identity all along. Oknodi admitted her instincts would never be fooled by the disguise. The revealed person acknowledged Oknodi saw through her act perfectly. The newly revealed person then suggested they shake hands. The girl hesitated before reaching out for the offered hand. Their hands met in a quick, decisive clasp. The newly tagged girl excitedly declared the handshake counted as a tag. Oknodi smirked, realizing the implications of the tag rule. The other girl looked utterly confused by the situation. Oknodi gleefully questioned what happens when taggers tag each other. The confused girl exclaimed about a secret rule involving point stealing. Oknodi's score remained positive while the other plummeted. Dorothy's score drastically dropped, leaving her defeated on the ground. Dorothy angrily questioned why the tagger was still participating. Dorothy questioned the next move with a simple "why?" Oknodi's group stood together, declaring they were teammates. Dorothy looked up, speechless and slightly stunned by the statement. Dorothy admitted defeat, blushing slightly, saying she totally lost. Someone expressed a wish for friends to have more trust like them. A warning followed. Even close friends betray quickly in this game. Oknodi asked Dorothy about her friends here, who betrayed her. Dorothy recounted how her tagger friend abandoned her for the group. Oknodi pointed out where the betrayers ran, focusing on the male. They discussed the girl being a nice merchant's daughter, influenced by a friend. The blonde girl offered information since Dorothy helped her out. She leaned in close, whispering secrets into Dorothy's ear. Dorothy reacted with shock, holding up a small glowing item. Dorothy covered her mouth, stunned by what she just heard. The blonde girl asked why Dorothy was suddenly giving her advice. The blonde girl simply replied, "Who knows?" with a slight smirk. She then brightly stated she admires people who try hard. Dorothy looked down, processing the words about resilience after betrayal. Dorothy stood taller, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She declared she would share her hard-earned solutions with such people. She tracked the lead group's route, gaining tracking experience points. A broken branch fell nearby as she observed the environment. The companion lamented finding Dorothy's old party amidst the tracks. The blonde girl pointed toward a bright, sunlit area ahead. The man noted a path fork, suggesting the easier route followed the examiner. He playfully asked the girl if she wanted to try the harder path. She emphatically refused, prioritizing avoiding discomfort over points. She argued that avoiding unpleasantness was more crucial than point accumulation. Dorothy exclaimed that swamps are infested with annoying mosquitoes. The others silently agreed that mosquitoes are indeed a serious issue. Someone slyly suggests poison resistance training for the upcoming challenge. The large monkey-like man and the smaller man react with surprise. The monkey man eagerly volunteers for muscle work and leading the way. Dorothy wonders why their teamwork suddenly improved so dramatically. A character is shown rapidly descending through the air, perhaps falling. A masked figure announces a 2-hour rest period for the group. The masked leader tells the exhausted group to hunt or do side quests. Dorothy happily receives a piggyback ride from the gentleman, thanking him. The monkey man notes the lead group quickly finished their tasks. He despairs that the vanguard group is now facing a difficult choice. He notes the cowardly ones are mostly at the front, after all. Only a few individuals appear truly relaxed among the group. The absolute powerhouse, Northern Duchess Irene, stands observing. Xing, the swordsman from the east, moves with intense focus. Privateer pirate Gogu grins while holding a spinning revolver. Gogu aims the weapon, preparing for a quick, decisive action. Gogu fires, causing chaos among the resting group below. The shot causes an explosion as it strikes the flying birds. Feathers fly as the birds are swiftly taken down by the attack. Someone catches a fallen goose, realizing the danger of crossing paths. They discuss the notorious pirate, the beast out of hell, taking the academy exam. Gogu presents the fallen bird to the surprised blonde girl. The girl reacts with shock as the captured bird is displayed. The pirate tells the girl to eat and grow strong, demanding secrecy. She stammers a hesitant thank you while accepting the offering. The companion calls out to Miss Aknodi, who is beaming. The girl is completely captivated, declaring Jigoku a good guy now. The monkey-like man wonders if food is all it takes to win loyalty. The group prepares to seek out Dorothy's betrayers. The companion reveals the betrayers have already been identified, triggering an event. They plan to show the culprits what true retribution means, perhaps with a bribe. The blonde girl realizes this must be the specialty of the merchant NPC. The companion asks how the betrayers were located in the woods. Guilt, it seems, leaves a very distinct and readable expression on people. The monkey-like man explains reading emotions is basic merchant skill. Faces reveal much more than people usually realize, the blonde girl recalls. She remembers the upperclassmen duo always supporting the main cast during training. Normally, they would easily pass the entrance test without any issues. However, things changed when Miss Ognodi became involved in the situation. The monkey-like man questions if the small creature is a mouse. The monkey-like man asks the girl what is wrong with a teasing tone. He sighs, admitting they are completely out of options to help. The blonde girl reacts with a surprised small gasp. Oh, really? She presses further, asking if they also failed to assist Dorothy. Both the girl and the man show expressions of shock and alarm. The man questions how she knew, realizing she met Dorothy. The blonde confirms meeting Dorothy, mentioning favorability events in the game. Achieving 100% favorability with Yui triggers a notorious event. Now the protagonist understands why Rockfell seems so easily defeated. The blonde girl reacts with a displeased, deep in thought. He feels he deserves whatever consequences follow abandoning a friend. The blonde girl feigns sadness, lamenting poor Dorothy's abandonment. The blonde girl smirks, labeling the pair as two betrayers. She suddenly lunges, shouting, "Take this!" at the surprised girl. The girl reacts with confusion and a sudden system alert sound. The girl screams, realizing Yui gained significant points from the interaction. The blonde cheerfully confirms she was the tagger, gaining points too. She questions if the point gain is excessive, even for her. Rockfell clutches his head, burdened by constant guilt over past actions. Yui sheds her guilt, immediately pursuing the next person she likes. Someone urgently tells Rockfell to quickly capture that brat. The blonde girl questions Rockfell's strange expression. Rockfell reminds her that taggers are just unnecessary burdens. The girl reacts with shock and disbelief to his words. Rockfell asks if she can find the instructor without him now. The girl, now on her knees, looks utterly terrified and desperate. The blonde cheerfully announces her father leads the merchant guild. The other girl's face twists into a greedy, unsettling grin. The blonde considers the offer, noting what bribery feels like. She playfully rejects the bribe, stating she already has wealth. The system grants the ability to become the Black Hat instructor once. Touching an examinee instantly finishes the tag game, no need to find the real instructor. The large companion questions if using the ability immediately was too hasty. The blonde explains she wanted to give that man one more chance. She suggests letting that guy out, perhaps taking Rockfell away later. The young man looks shocked, barely managing a response as she extends her hand. Contestants. Sun Oh-chun and Isabel have successfully escaped the tag game. Contestant Giselle has also escaped the tag, prompting a desperate, "No!" The girl cries out, offering to pay anything to avoid being left behind. The young man looks on with a silent, troubled expression as she screams. Contestant Rockfell successfully escaped the tag game with a smile. The girl who was left behind desperately ran, shouting, "Wait!" Contestant Oknoti also escaped the tag, cheerfully saying, "Nope." Someone took off the black hat, signaling a change in status. The black hat vanished, and she lost her temporary black hat instructor status. The girl who lost her status questioned in shock, Why did this happen?" She admitted this was for Dorothy's revenge and her own standards. The girl sat down, having completed the betrayal event. Because she refused the bribe, Rockfell's affinity increased, prompting a reward thought. She wondered about collecting guy points, then focused on something more important. The girl insists guy affection is private, making the large figure look awkward. She thanks the young man for his help, who replies it was no problem. She struggles to explain, questioning how he can help others if he can't help friends. The young man agrees with her assessment, looking somewhat resigned. He states he won't forget her kindness as he walks away into the woods. The girl watches him depart, left speechless with just ellipses. A monkey-like companion asks if her reaction was overly sentimental, but she says it's fine. She dismisses the concern, stating forgiveness is Dorothy's decision anyway. She then focuses, realizing something important with a slight blush. The group celebrates passing the 50-point cutoff with scores of 72 each. They must now follow Minerva toward the next objective in the bright woods. A masked figure, contestant Oknoti, appears and greets them with a smile. Meanwhile, one participant sits by a tree, complaining the ground feels cold. Her intense blue eyes judge the situation, deeming it utterly pathetic. Others express exhaustion, suggesting they quit and drop to a lower class. One person asks Princess Irene if she is also suffering from hunger. Irene, huddled near the tree, simply tells him not to mind her. In a harsh, cold environment, robed figures gather around a small fire. A gloved hand pulls out a camouflage-patterned envelope or ticket. Irene, eating something unappetizing, is offered emergency rations instead. Who would give food, possibly being a cultist in Northland? She replies that she is accustomed to consuming poor-quality sustenance. She notes that others are not enjoying gourmet meals either. A close-up shows her resigned expression while enduring the food. A stern woman suddenly questions the unpleasant odor she detects. Others are happily cooking what looks like butter-grilled mushrooms. Someone exclaims that the butter-grilled mushrooms are incredibly unfair. A man asks Princess Irene if she has arrived for some mushrooms. She claims she only came to see which rival secured food. He asks if she truly intends not to partake in the meal. They mention the mushrooms were acquired for a specific cost. Perhaps they charge nobles so they do not expect free things. Someone warns that this situation might also be a deception. The blonde girl looks slightly taken aback by the situation. Princess Irene reacts with surprise, turning towards the commotion. Her stylish boots are shown as she stands firmly on the ground. The taller woman looms over the blonde girl, questioning her. The blonde girl beams with an overwhelmingly cheerful expression. She offers something glowing, asking if the other person wants it. Princess Irene questions if the offering is actually a lollipop. The taller woman thinks the girl is trying hard to offer candy, which is harsh. She internally admits she wouldn't actually consume the offered item anyway. A large ape-like figure holds the blonde girl near some cooking food. One woman sighs. The blonde girl becomes intensely frustrated, wanting to bond with a main character. A man suggests applying mosquito spray to Miss Oknoti, and she agrees. The man asks why she dislikes mosquitoes so much, and she thoughtfully hums. The girl winks confidently, promising the man will discover the reason soon enough. A long line of figures stands near signs in a sun-dappled, misty forest path. A masked figure in a wide hat praises everyone for keeping up the pace. The assembled group wonders aloud if they have finally reached their destination. The examiner simply says, "No, just saying good job," confusing the group. Suddenly, a magical circle appears as 10 points are deducted. The examiner announces they are leaving now with a confident smirk. The group reacts with shock as intense energy erupts from the ground. They question why the examiner is leaving them behind like that. The blonde girl smiles, noting that mosquito repellent now truly matters. Ahead, 3 distinct paths to the goal are clearly presented. The first path is a shortcut costing 10 points but is the fastest. The second path is free, has many mosquitoes, and takes longer. The final path is a roundabout route, free, with fewer mosquitoes, but longest. She offers repellent for points, claiming bites won't bother you then. The man asks about spray repellent, looking slightly confused by the offer. She refuses, stating that selling spray prevents her from selling the ointment. A pirate-like figure suggests using a magic circle to block the mosquitoes. A hand reaches out, activating a glowing purple magical formation in the air. The system detects mosquito venom, turning the magic circle bright red. A warning appears. Teleportation magic circle cannot be used, causing distress. Someone mocks the frustrated redhead, enjoying her public embarrassment immensely. The angry redhead challenges the monkey-like person to settle things privately. The grinning monkey figure eagerly accepts the challenge, ready for confrontation. The monkey-like person is surprised teleportation is blocked by simple mosquito poison. The injured man explains poison sometimes prevents teleportation for wound safety, but not this time. The blonde girl questions if even Uncle Giselle lacks complete knowledge. The injured man reveals teleporting with poison spreads it faster, despite its low danger. The blonde girl insists this is a practical lesson for test takers, not just trolling. The group prepares to depart via the magic circle as someone questions the mosquito bite. The blonde girl cheerfully assures everyone they are fine and ready to go. She proudly confirms they avoided being bitten by any mosquitoes. A system notification deducts 10 points from the group's score as they activate the circle. A masked figure watches the group's departure with a look of mild concern. The masked figure compliments their skill in avoiding all the forest mosquitoes. The blonde girl suggests they bought mosquito ointment, which the masked figure denies. The examiner insists a ranger can smell that, confirming it was spray repellent. The dark-haired girl looks shocked as the blonde girl nervously laughs, realizing the examiner saw through them. The masked examiner joyfully announces that everyone passes the challenge. The group celebrates passing, while one member wonders why their points increased. A system notification shows Giselle's score, highlighting a point increase. Scores for Suno-chun, Isabel, and Oknoti also show 112 points as completion reward. The examiner explains reaching the finish nets everyone 50 points at this stage. The masked figure clarifies side quests were for survival needs like food and water. The masked figure stresses managing budget and avoiding illness from insects. This round taught everyone the harsh essentials of adventuring, Suno-chun noted. The examiner asked Oknoti if she already knew about these survival aspects. Oknoti confirmed her preparedness, mentioning avoiding poisons like that candy. The group reacted to the poison candy revelation, considering guild applications. Giselle announced she was heading to the bathroom immediately. Giselle quickly dashed towards the building with a restroom sign. She was relieved they did not catch her secret mission completion. Giselle revealed her extra quests were for these valuable stat stones. She explained stat stones have caps, not raising stats over 20. It is most efficient to eat small cap stones first, saving big cap ones for later. Giselle happily thought she would save the best for last, giggling sweetly. Suddenly, a voice startled her, asking about her stone collecting, causing shock. Looking up, she saw the black hat instructor standing high in a tree above her. Giselle realized only real veterans knew the secret about these collected items. The instructor revealed the black hat instructor was actually Minerva's summoned familiar. He was surprised she fooled his tracking skill, realizing she was close by. He deduced she was using shared vision and vocal projection magic right there. The instructor stated he had met a candidate like her before with glowing eyes. Giselle wondered if he meant a rival stone collector, looking surprised and small. He mentioned poison resistance training and finding similar test takers investigating. Giselle reacted with shock upon hearing the Waihim High Foundation exists. The instructor explained they send trained agents to the academy disguised as normal. Giselle realized that was her butler's last name, confirming his status. He pressed her, asking the Foundation's real goal and any evil plots. Giselle emotionally defended her butler, telling him not to speak ill of him. The instructor stated she did not know the Waihim High Foundation's purpose. He questioned why her foundation only gathered orphans without parents. Giselle cried out that she has a father, insisting everyone is wrong. The instructor conceded, saying the main house apologizes to Miss Oknoti. A masked figure declared the child was not to blame for the situation. The man with the monkey-like features questioned, "Huh? Miss Oknoti?" Giselle, blushing intensely, denied that she had been crying just moments before. The hairy man asked who made their mouse cry, noting her red eyes. Someone firmly commanded, "That's enough now," grabbing another person's clothing. The woman with purple eyes told Giselle not to dwell on upsetting matters. She reassured the blonde girl that everyone present was on her side. Giselle wiped her face, noticing the cloth smelled faintly of sweat. The woman apologized, admitting she had been carrying the cloth around. Giselle looked flustered and speechless as the others prepared for a rest. It seemed a while before the rest of the examinees would arrive here. Some of the group settled down for a brief rest in the woods. Soon, the strongest supporting and main characters began arriving at the gate. The truly powerful individuals used magical circles to instantly reach the finish line. The sun set dramatically over the trees, casting long shadows. After another day passed, Giselle finally woke up, rubbing her eyes. The final examinees, exhausted from the long journey, started trickling in. One person watched as the weary candidates collapsed near the entrance. A gloved hand pointed sharply, signaling something important. The newly arrived group reacted with surprise and sudden awareness. The masked instructor declared the examination officially concluded. Out of many participants, only a small fraction finished within the time limit. Another examinee reacted with visible frustration and annoyance. Giselle noted that the latecomers still managed to tag the instructor. Since advice was given, the blonde girl offered a helpful suggestion in return. She whispered instructions to go back to the start and find the instructor. The recipient of the tip looked surprised, realizing a chance remained. A monkey-like figure questioned why those who ran out of time were summoned. The blonde girl explained that Minerva sorts examinees by their status. A participant loudly questioned why those who timed out were present. The masked instructor insisted that specific instructions were never given. Timeout students only miss out on extra rewards, not admission. Those who finished on time receive bonus points for sure. Anyone reaching at least 100 points gains immediate admission. Okanoid and Isabel shared a joyful moment in the sunlight. Sun Ochun roared with intense, fiery energy. Giselle smiled warmly, acknowledging someone. Zhuang, Weather, and 6 others were also mentioned. The instructor stated that strength and skill do not matter here. Adventure requires more than just combat and raw power, she declared. Being the top scorer twice meant everyone was now watching them closely. The blonde girl asked what their next move should be. Feeling the attention, Master Monk Myangho appeared, noting Miss Oknodai passed earlier than expected. Giselle smiled as the monk instructed all passers to move to the waiting room. The masked figure approached the group, drawing attention from the others. The blonde girl reacted with surprise, wondering why the cloaked person addressed her. The masked figure was identified as Zhuang, the binding assassin. This was due to the rare 0.1% chance trap landmine from the second test. Zhuang insisted they were not an assassin, but the blonde girl called them a liar. The masked figure admitted the blonde girl saw through their hidden abilities. The girl explains her abilities come from being a player. Zhuang immediately recognized her techniques, asking where she learned them. She claims training came from her butler and maid, which Zhuang finds amusing. The girl admits learning from her mentor, feeling awkward about the sudden friendliness. The girl recalls the Zhuang she knew would instantly provoke conflict. Zhuang wonders if her friendliness is due to the little girl's charm. Zhuang playfully pats her head, saying a mouse found a friend like herself. The girl protests the rough handling, telling Zhuang to stop. Zhuang, annoyed, asks the girl if she needs help dealing with the loud man. Zhuang menacingly asks if she should handle the situation for the girl. Zhuang's eye reflects the man she is considering eliminating for the girl. The little girl is clearly terrified by Zhuang's menacing suggestion. Zhuang casually offers to go handle the loud men for her new friend. The girl remembers Zhuang is a dangerous assassin, making her hesitate greatly. Despite wanting Zhuang's favor, the girl quickly tells her not to intervene. She realizes she cares about her current team, including Uncle Ochun. She smiles, noting that her current group is completely different from the original game. Zhuang accepts the decision and waves goodbye to the girl and her team. Running back to her companions, she understands how precious they have become. The first 2 rounds tested independence and creativity. Now the third round begins. The girl confronts an orc with shimmering ice magic. Her companion swiftly attacks with a powerful, glowing sword strike. This combat trial pits them against several hulking figures. She wonders if the Academy always held such intense trials. Flashbacks show the endless war against demons and growing graves. They finally decided to seek answers by going to the capital. A hand activates a complex, glowing magical array before them. She unleashes a massive surge of blue electrical energy. Another teammate beams happily, concerned about her own ranking. The main character picks up a smooth, dark stone thoughtfully. The entrance exam results finally appeared, showing class acceptance numbers. The group stood together, observing the results with various expressions. 2 distinct figures, one masked and one with a commanding look, observed the scene. Another set of serious individuals, including a young man, watched the proceedings intently. The total number of passers for the 981st class was announced as 2,130. The small blonde girl pondered the numbers, prompting a question from the large companion. She dismissed the concern about the high pass rate with a simple negative response. The man then asked if she knew anything about the A, B, and C groups. She explained Group A is Frontier, B is Central, and C is Special, suggesting they are Group A. The man found the origin-based splitting odd, but she clarified it was just separate testing sites. Okinoid's knowledge spikes again, specifically concerning the academy details. The blonde girl claims her knowledge is just from home lessons, which the other finds impressive. Knowing all that suggests access to royal-level information, identifying her as Arcadia, second-ranked noble. A close-up shows the intense, almost closed eyes of the blonde girl. The woman dismisses her knowledge as incoherent, calling her an icon of no foundation. She then compliments the girl's style, suggesting a fur coat would complete the look. The woman excitedly shows off her outfit, mentioning a winter version is ready too. She decides to generously offer favor points, suggesting fried squid and girl talk. The blonde girl reacts strongly to the food suggestion, almost choking on something. The companions react to the sudden invitation for food and intimate conversation. The blonde girl declares Arcadia her new favorite while still chewing. A figure in a conical hat interrupts the girl's snack time. The messenger informs the girl that examiner Minerva is calling for her. The girl reacts with confusion, still holding the small item. The scene shifts to a richly decorated room with plush seating. The woman holding a cup calmly invites the girl to enter. The blonde girl asks why she was summoned this time. The masked woman assures her it is not for a reprimand. The girl looks down, questioning the document presented to her. Accepted students are divided into Frontier, Central, and other groups. The masked woman states the problem. Okinoid is unregistered in the International Archive. The blonde girl reacts with shock and an audible, "Ah!" She questions if this unregistered status is truly an issue. Unregistered individuals are not recognized by society, causing her bowl to ignite. This means Okinoid is relegated to Group C, causing her great distress. She asks about the consequences, learning she loses freedom under instructor watch. She realizes this prevents her from gathering necessary stat stones. She laments not being able to complete her planned event beforehand. The girl pleads for leniency, but the instructor firmly says it's impossible. She is sentenced to constant supervision by an instructor, resulting in a loud, "No!" She was about to say something, but paused, looking confused. The instructor revealed someone stepped forward to vouch for her. A sudden movement suggests someone has arrived quickly. Her eyes widened with surprise and recognition, shouting, "Jonah!" A distinguished gentleman with a monocle greets her. "It's been a while, miss." This person is described as a 100% loyal butler, summoned by a whistle. She joyfully rushes into his arms, exclaiming, "I missed you!" He is introduced as Jonah Waihiamhai, her only trustworthy butler. Jonah firmly stops her enthusiastic greeting, saying, "That won't do." She realizes she is still weak despite her efforts and needs to compose herself. The masked figure asks Jonah if she can speak with the miss privately for a moment. Another imposing man agrees, telling her to go ahead with the private conversation. The young lady watches as the two men move away from the seating area. Suddenly, she is grasped firmly by the shoulders, causing a startled reaction. Jonah leans in close, intensely instructing her to listen to him very carefully. She recognizes the man holding her, softly calling out, "Jonah?" Jonah compliments her, stating she performed much better than anticipated, Missy. A scene shifts to show a group appearing within a glowing magical circle outdoors. Her dazzling talent surpasses even the scholars who barely managed to pass their tests. Jonah pauses, his expression serious, beginning his next important statement with, "But..." Jonah reminds her she will always carry the Waihimhai Foundation scholar label. He states the more the Foundation dislikes the world, the more the world watches them. The girl looks surprised as Jonah holds her shoulders firmly. Jonah leans in, telling her to listen closely, miss. She softly questions, "Jonah?" While he holds her. Jonah reveals that he is also a former Foundation scholar, which surprises her. He urges her to listen carefully to the crucial crossroads ahead. The girl looks concerned, asking what the situation is then. A vision shows her floating under a massive, chained, glowing orb in darkness. Jonah explains the Foundation's support was never pure goodwill, demanding devotion later. She questions why she would refuse the Foundation's backing for freedom. Jonah urges serious consideration, presenting a document from the Academy. The contract shows the Academy will cover her debts and block Foundation influence. Signing this document will allow the Academy to create a new identity for her. She realizes this is her chance to finally be free from the Foundation's grasp. Concerned, she asks Jonah what his fate will be if she accepts. He reveals that since he belongs to the Foundation, they would have to part forever. Refusing to abandon him, she cries out, confused by the feeling in her chest. Jonah gently pats her head, looking conflicted by her refusal to leave him. He feels a low satisfaction at being chosen, even knowing the irreversible path ahead. He warns her that letting others decide her fate is despair, asking if she can keep climbing. A shadowy figure questions if she truly believes she will be any different, saying, "It's fine." She confidently declares that she is the player, after all, glowing brightly. She reasons that as Papa's daughter, the Foundation is ultimately his domain. Helping her dad is only natural, she asserts with a knowing smirk. He concedes, saying, "Is that so?" As she confirms it is fine. He poses a metaphorical question about what to do with a bird that won't leave an open cage. A close-up shows a hand clenching, indicating a decision is being made. Jonah declares he must protect her himself, becoming her Foundation sponsor immediately. She eagerly agrees to his proposal, holding up a small pendant. She confirms he is on her side, holding up the whistle pendant. The imposing man looks down at the small girl with the whistle. He gently takes her hand, acknowledging their new arrangement. She excitedly exclaims about having many stories regarding the entrance exam. Another woman warns him about past trouble caused with Miss. He notes that repeating mistakes would surely lead to his removal. He expresses gratitude for her trust, even if it meant conflict. She pauses, addressing him by name, Jonah. She then asks him when they will see each other again. Jonah informs her visits are restricted to once a month on the set day. He reacts to her dislike of the new realism patch with confusion. He cautions her against saying strange things publicly to avoid trouble. She cheerfully insists she has already made many friends there. He smiles, noting that anyone who captures her heart is special. She quickly walks away as he watches her departure. She calls out Jonah as she turns back toward him. He tells her he must be leaving now. He asks her to take care until their next meeting. She waves enthusiastically, telling Jonah goodbye too. He walks away, confident Miss Aknodi will be fine. The dimensional gate is like a teleport circle for entry or exit. However, safety does not stop all outside intruders at the academy. The true purpose is to break in the new students. A monkey-like figure seems to be listening intently. The crowd of new students looks on with anticipation. They want to remove outside comfort, so students focus on talent. An official announces all students must check bags for forbidden items. The first checkpoint bans all outside magical equipment. One person is clear. Checking begins, and immediately a forbidden item is detected. A nervous student realizes his banned item has been found. The official lists forbidden items: compass, glowstone, mirror, and a steel knife. The student admits she is an adventurer, justifying her gear. The official declares everything will be confiscated, causing her distress. He states they must buy items inside or earn permission with points. The student is surprised, focusing on the mention of points. The official explains entrance exam points are the starting balance. She excitedly checks her magic watch, realizing the potential. Her watch displays bonuses showing a massive total of 217,400 points. She boasts that acing the exams truly paid off, suggesting spending. The student is shocked as a system message appears, perhaps denying her request. System messages state freshmen cannot apply for usage permits. She asks for clarification, looking utterly confused and small. The official confirms all her gear will be held in storage. She exclaims that this situation is so unfair to her. The official calls for a mage, seemingly to resolve the issue. The two officials converse briefly in the bright hall. The official looks surprised as the mage arrives. The mage happily hands over a small pouch to the other official. The official presents the pouch to Miss Aknodi. She is shocked, wondering how this is possible now. The official advises Miss Aknodi to simply say thank you in these situations. Miss Aknodi happily thanks Uncle Giselle with sparkling eyes. The group stands together as the official pats the young girl's head. Monk Myungho appears, addressing someone with a serious expression. He asks if the inspections concluded without any issues. The subordinate confirms safety but mentions something unusual occurred. The monk asks if there were any repeat incidents like last year's threat. The official replies negatively, then brings up a report about freshman Aknodi. Monk Myungho, who was already watching her, asks for details about the report. The subordinate reveals the child is currently undergoing poison resistance training. The monk questions the severity of the poison training. The subordinate reacts strongly, questioning the situation unfolding. The official struggles, clearly affected by the revelation. The monk admits his emotional reaction impacts his training discipline. The subordinate quickly recovers, assuring the monk it is fine. The subordinate reveals Okanodi has a strange habit of eating stones. The monk is deeply saddened, calling the situation tragic. The narration describes a life dependent on poison and simple stones. The monk asks if this sensitive information can be concealed. The subordinate acknowledges reporting rules but hesitates about reporting. The monk stresses empathy is needed or rules are meaningless, promising personal oversight. The subordinate listens intently, touching their chin thoughtfully. The monk clasps his hands, wishing no misfortune upon the subordinate. The monk offers a final blessing, urging the subordinate to find peace. A report arrives from the young lady who joined the gift academy. The report confirms uniform purchase, sponsored items, and dorm room 111, avoiding 111-1. The man notes the handwriting resembles hers, confirming no support items requested. He wonders which professor will be charmed by this Waihimhai Foundation scholar. Brilliant talent ensures professors cannot simply overlook this new student. Ultimately, the foundation plans to use the professor, holding the student as leverage. The young man reflects, just like I once had a mentor. The gentleman with the monocle seems quite taken with the document. He adjusts his monocle, focusing on what truly demands his attention. He wonders why she insists on handling everything independently, noting none for support items. She acts as if abandonment is certain if she doesn't manage things quickly. He resolves to find some way to assist her, but then pauses. He reads a specific instruction. Make sure not to enter 111-1. He questions if she perhaps fell asleep while writing the note. The girl exclaims, holding her papers, 1 week before the ceremony. She realizes she sent the memo by mistake, now settled into the dorm. At the Gift Academy dorm, a secret exists unknown to residents and staff. She stands holding papers, looking toward a shelf filled with jars and boxes. She approaches a wall, touching it, realizing it is the answering door. A close-up shows a hand tentatively reaching out toward the wall. A voice prompts her with a clear, knock-knock. She frowns, stating that interaction with it causes it to respond back. This door transforms her neighbor, Hestia, into the first major boss. Hestia talks constantly with the neighbor next door over the term. Then she realizes that nobody actually resides in that adjacent room. As a berserker class, Hestia eventually loses control and becomes distressed. Frenzied Hestia injures many classmates, causing fatalities. Newbies report the bloodshed, but veterans value the potential gains. The protagonist realizes this feature is quite useful for exams. She requests past exam questions and expected answers from a professor. Playing along with Hestia's chatter prevents her from becoming unstable. Hestia seems momentarily confused by the protagonist's actions. The princess shows affection, making happy sounds toward the protagonist. Another person questions the affectionate nickname Dai. The protagonist notes that being harsh on the cute princess feels wrong. The Princess of Florence seems to really like the protagonist now. Someone sets down a teacup while addressing Miss Arcadia. A woman states she came to discuss something important with Miss Arcadia. Someone sets down a teacup while addressing Miss Arcadia. The woman states she came to discuss something important with Miss Arcadia. The blonde woman cheerfully asks what the matter could be. The speaker expresses gratitude for kindness shown to Ocnoid, then pivots. She requests more focus on the Western Noble Alliance activities, asking if that is all. The blonde woman asks if this refers to the B Group Central Nobility students. She explains there is a clash between A Group Frontier and B Group Empire students during preparation. The speaker suggests advanced students should lead against the Empire, as this was a major game event. Empire weapons are not blades, making them dangerous without usage permits. The other woman questions if this means mana refinement and cultivation methods. Mana refinement is used specifically for enhancing physical training capabilities. Mana cultivation is then applied for strengthening mental training aspects. It is difficult to overcome Empire nobles with superior mana early on. Normally, the Empire easily defeats the frontier side in conflicts. This changes only when Hestia awakens as a powerful chapter boss. The speaker sighs, promising to be more cautious moving forward. She reassures the younger girl not to worry about the situation. The younger girl reacts with mild disgust as her cheek is pinched. A hand levitates a glowing blue crystal, radiating magical energy. The girl happily exclaims she is lucky again today while walking. She then suggests getting food, though she finds something vulgar. Suddenly, she is confronted by a group of stern-looking students. The opposing group insists she change out of her exercise clothes. The exercise group argues that uniforms are only recommended, not mandatory. The confrontation escalates with demands for an apology over the vulgar comment. An older figure intervenes, stating the issue is unresolved but promising caution. A system prompt announces a group competition based on differing values. The girl ponders, deciding to align with the B Group Empire students due to their higher tier. She plots to gain favor by befriending the higher-tier Empire nobles. Another girl appears, happily surprised by the unexpected arrival for help. The blonde girl reacts with extreme shock to the sudden appearance. The newcomer demands immediate intervention to resolve the ongoing dispute. The blonde girl freezes, displaying a wide-eyed, unsettling expression. The other girl looks confused, questioning the strange reaction she sees. The blonde girl is questioned about eyeing the Empire noble's valuable items. She frantically denies any interest in expensive wine or elixirs. The newcomer grants permission for the blonde girl to join the other side. The leader threatens the blonde girl with a lifetime ban from her cooking. She whimpers, threatening to tell Arcadia about the situation. The blonde girl pouts, regretting missing out on B-group friendship. Her bright blue eyes show a sudden, intense resolve. Two men comment on the lady's kind heart and softness. The leader apologizes for smelling like sweat after carrying something. The blonde girl beams happily, surrounded by floating hearts. She walks away with a somber expression. Her footsteps echo softly on the wooden floor. The blonde girl suddenly shouts, defending her friends from bullying. She fiercely questions why wearing light clothes after training is wrong. The bullies reacted with disgust to her defense. They questioned her audacity and insulted her attire as barbaric. The confrontation escalated with angry shouts and intense auras. Someone yelled about not needing to say that to a child, adding perfume insults. The blonde girl wondered why helping worsened the conflict, facing a looming shadow. System notifications confirmed group competition success and shifting affection levels. The main antagonist dismissed associating with lowlifes and commanded departure. The blonde girl slumped, realizing the friendship she tried to save was ruined. She was suddenly surrounded again, hearing an unfamiliar sound. Her friends thanked her for intervening and asked what she wanted to eat. The blonde girl wonders if she is finally experiencing happiness surrounded by friends. The group walks away, leaving the grand hall behind them. An elder figure asks if the conflict has already been resolved. He closes his eyes, praying that virtue brings good fortune. Thanks to kindness, positive relationships are now increasing for them. The elder worried that being the top scorer would cause envy. He hopes everything remains calm until the upcoming entrance ceremony. The sun sets beautifully over a large, traditional-looking building. The blonde girl reflects that things should be quiet after the competition. She looks up with a slight blush, questioning what is happening. Someone calls out, "Hestia," as a red-haired figure looks distressed. The blonde girl approaches room 111, wondering why the other girl looks upset. A hand reaches out slowly, gripping the door handle firmly. She realizes with shock, "Don't tell me!" Her eyes glowing intensely. A dark, ominous purple energy surrounds room 112, signaling a major event.